Naruto, God Rewards Hard Work, Chapter 161. When Orochimaru was fighting the third Hokage, part of his soul was sealed. The death mask is the medium to connect to the death god. Through this, Naruto can make another deal with Orochimaru. Naruto walked into the Nanman Hall, where masks were placed one by one. Outside the Nanman Hall, there was also the emblem of the Uzumaki clan, which made Naruto feel a little inexplicably intimate. Naruto put away all the masks, turned around and walked out of the door, then turned around again and looked at it, and turned directly into a residual image and left here. After Naruto left for a few minutes, a figure appeared, with bright red hair floating in the air, looking more than 20 years old. Oval face, clear eyes, bright eyebrows and white teeth, and a black stripe on the white neck. She looked at the masks that had disappeared and murmured, "Another powerful ninja has set foot in the country of whirlpools. Is he related to that group of mysterious ninjas?" The woman frowned. If Naruto was there, he would find that this was a member of the Uzumaki clan. The exterminated Uzumaki clan actually still exists. This member of the Uzumaki clan is called Chanel Uzumaki, one of the few surviving members of the Uzumaki clan. What no one knows is that there are still very few members of the Uzumaki clan in the current Uzumaki country, and they are the bloodline seeds preserved by the original Uzumaki clan. In order to hide their whereabouts, these Uzumaki clan members have now specially developed a sealing technique that can hide themselves. It has little effect on their strength, but the hiding effect is very good. This is why there are black stripes on Chanel Uzumaki's neck. Chanel Uzumaki looked at the mask that was looted, and she didn't think about snatching the mask back. After all, she knew very little about the mask. Even the inheritance is missing a lot. The only remaining elder also taught her to hide herself as much as possible and not to contact ninjas from the outside world. Chanel Uzumaki, who knew some of the cruelty of the outside world, checked it out and left the Nanman Hall. Ellipsis. The news from Konoha shocked many people. Even Scorpion, who had already infiltrated Umbrella, knew it. Sure enough, this world is very dangerous, and only eternity is the truth. However, Scorpion can't take care of these situations at present. Scorpion is still looking at the drawings in a thick book sent by the instructor. In order to study the principles of the aircraft, Scorpion finally got into the Umbrella organization after some twists and turns. Like Jiraiya, he did not show too many abilities, and he is now using his original body, a handsome young man. He successfully followed an Umbrella member who was studying aircraft to learn mechanical principles and became an apprentice. Although the instructor he studied was not the top figure of Umbrella and was an ordinary person himself, Scorpion was somewhat obsessed with mechanical principles. The reason why he infiltrated the Umbrella organization was mainly because of the reminder from Black Zetsu. This is a very complicated organization, and the investigation system is strict. Therefore, in order to prevent exposure, Scorpion used his original body to become a logistics staff of Umbrella. As Umbrella grows stronger and more grassroots personnel gradually increase, Shisui can only check it out and can only ensure the purity of the core members. Even if the periphery is exposed, it will not shake the Umbrella organization. Scorpion was fascinated by the contents of the books. These books were from the Umbrella organization and had not yet been released in the ninja world. They described the principles of the engine and the production process of the aircraft. The organization issued them to discover some buried talents. Scorpion finally figured out why he couldn't make a real airplane. Although he figured out the principle, there was still one step that made Scorpion feel very troublesome. That is, the fuel of the airplane comes from oil, which has been specially treated and has been regulated. Moreover, the manufacture of airplanes needs to take into account many aspects, which is no less than the process of learning puppetry. Fortunately, Scorpion has the foundation of puppetry and learns quickly. If you want to make a complete airplane, there are too many things to consider, including wings, fuselage, even tail, landing gear, power system, fluid mechanics, etc. And airplanes are just an application of mechanical principles. There are many other aspects that can be applied, and they can definitely be used in puppetry. Scorpion feels that the road to puppetry lies in science. Combining science with puppetry must have a bright future. In the past, puppets were mostly made of wood and a few metals because the puppets could not be too heavy, otherwise the flexibility would be too poor. Now, perhaps we can add a power system and metal load bearing to the puppet, and add sealing techniques and chakra. It will definitely be an excellent puppet. Scorpion began to verify his idea, writing furiously on the desk. He wanted to design a perfect puppet for himself. Ellipsis. In the Otogakur village of the land of rice. Orochimaru looked pale and in a very bad mood, and even his temper became much more irritable. At this moment, there was another person in front of him, with yellow hair, a missing forehead protector, and a refreshing divine robe. The complexions of the two formed a very obvious contrast. "Mr. Orochimaru, you look bad," Naruto said. Orochimaru's hands had lost their color. The pain from the damage to his soul was far less intense than the torment from his hands being unable to move. Without his hands, it would be difficult for Orochimaru to verify the truth, and some of his ideas could not be replicated. Orochimaru looked grim, and even though he had roughly guessed Naruto's intentions, he was not happy at all. "Naruto-kun, I'm so sorry for letting you see me like this," Orochimaru said self-deprecatingly. Standing next to him was Kimimaro, who looked at Orochimaru with a worried look on his face. Kabuto stood beside him, adjusting his glasses with his right middle finger. "Naruto-kun, I remember Tsunade seems to be in your organization, right?" Orochimaru said in a hoarse voice. Naruto nodded. He naturally knew what Orochimaru was planning. "Orochimaru, I'm sorry to tell you that Tsunade probably can't do anything about your injury. After all, this is a move involving the soul, and Tsunade's research on the soul may not be as good as yours." Orochimaru was disappointed, but Naruto's next words rekindled his hope. "But, I have a way to help you." Naruto took out a scroll and said, "This is the training method of the Sage Mode that I promised to give you. From now on, you are not allowed to have any ideas about Sasuke anymore. You know the consequences. Also, if you want to solve the problem of your hands, here is the solution." Naruto took out the death mask. "What is this?" Orochimaru looked at the death mask in confusion. "This is the mask of the god of death, a medium that can communicate with the god of death. The demonic seal is a forbidden technique of the Uzumaki clan. Changed. It's difficult to replenish your soul essence, so why not take your hands back from the god of death?" Naruto said calmly. However, the domineering tone in his voice shocked Orochimaru's heart. Naruto-kun is worthy of snatching things from the god of death. "What do you want?" Orochimaru didn't think that Naruto would help him unconditionally. Naruto said word by word, "Hashirama cells." Chapter 162. When Orochimaru heard what Naruto said, his pupils suddenly shrank, and then he laughed. "I didn't expect Naruto-kun also knew about Hashirama's cells." Naruto just smiled and didn't answer. Orochimaru pondered for a moment, and said seriously, "No problem, as long as Naruto-kun can solve my problem, Hashirama's cells will naturally be offered with both hands." Naruto raised the corner of his mouth and said, "Of course." Hearing Orochimaru chewing the word, hands, Naruto also felt a burst of laughter. It seems that hands are really important to Orochimaru. However, it is definitely not that easy to get your hands back from the god of death. You have to be prepared. Naruto changed his voice, and Orochimaru gritted his teeth secretly. The god of death brought him a great sense of oppression. It was not an easy thing to get his soul back from him. Seeing Orochimaru's ugly face, Naruto was naturally happy, but he was still ready to tell Orochimaru the method. After all, his purpose this time was not entirely for Hashirama's cells. "You don't have to worry. If you want to get your soul back from the god of death, you may have to exchange your life for his own. But this problem is not a problem for you, Orochimaru." Naruto chuckled. Orochimaru was also stunned. Thinking back to his own ability, it seemed that only that ability could make Naruto so confident. You mean the reincarnation of corpses? Orochimaru said a little unsurely. That's right. If you want to get started with the god of death, you have to wear a mask and then cut open your stomach. Wearing a mask is equivalent to making a contract with the god of death, and he will do the same thing. Then you only need to use the non-corpse reincarnation to reincarnate into another body, and the god of death will naturally not be able to lock you. Naruto explained slowly, and Orochimaru's eyes lit up. This is indeed a feasible method. Even if he fails, he can use reincarnation to get rid of the state where his hands cannot move, but his soul is defective and his strength has decreased a lot. In the original work, Orochimaru reincarnated directly to get rid of his current state after not getting help from Tsunade, and his body at the time was a little bit unable to hold on, and there was also a part of the reason why his hands could not be used. The damage caused to him by the Shikigami Fujin was huge, causing him to lose an extremely compatible body. Later, he could only reincarnate as Genumaru. However, the non-corpse reincarnation must be separated by 3 years before reincarnation again, which does not mean that reincarnation must be done in 3 years. And there is also a degree of compatibility between the body and the soul. Then when do we start? Orochimaru said in a hoarse voice. I have no problem, why not do it tomorrow? You prepare the sacrifices needed for reincarnation first. I'll stay and take a look then. You won't refuse, will you? Naruto waved his hand, and a gleam of light flashed in Orochimaru's eyes. With Naruto here, even if something unexpected happens, he can take care of it. Orochimaru agreed directly, no problem. As soon as he said it, Naruto and his friends came to an open space the next day. Naruto turned his head to look at Orochimaru's pale face and said, Orochimaru, you should know about the Shikigami Fujin. If you don't understand this technique, then you may have to do it another day. I'm afraid you'll die if you're not careful. Facing Naruto's impolite words, Orochimaru's face changed slightly, and he said calmly, Naruto-kun, I know that reincarnation must be completed at the moment of the Shikigami Fujin, release while the body is not completely dead. I have some ideas about how to do it. Orochimaru said confidently. After a day, Orochimaru even practiced the seal of the demonic seal to ensure that there would be no mistakes. As long as the chakra is not mobilized, it is still possible to practice the demonic seal. Several people slowly walked to the depths of the forest, to a relatively empty place. Kabuto and Kimimaro were guarding beside Orochimaru, and there was a sacrifice who had already prepared to sacrifice himself, with a fanatical look in his eyes. Let's get started, Orochimaru. Naruto looked at Orochimaru and said seriously. Orochimaru looked serious, biting the Kusanagi sword with his mouth, and it was Kabuto who helped him to make the seal. In the original work, when Orochimaru fought Tsunade and Jiraiya, it was also Kabuto who helped him to make the seal. After all, it is not the time of the Fourth War. At that time, Orochimaru had been reincarnated and his hands could move freely. Now, Orochimaru has not been reincarnated yet and can only use his mouth to cut open his stomach. With the help of Kabuto, Orochimaru successfully made the seal, and Naruto instantly entered the sage mode and gathered the power of nature in his eye sockets. The familiar scene reappeared. Kabuto and Kimimaro only felt a chill, and a cold wind blew. Naruto saw an evil ghost in white clothes, with a green face and fangs, and a different energy from chakra. Following Orochimaru's actions, the god of death also synchronized. Puff! Blood instantly soaked Orochimaru's from the abdomen, several souls flew out visibly. Because of the chakra, Kabuto and Kimimaro also saw this scene this time, but what they saw were several souls with chakra flying out directly from one place. Orochimaru took advantage of the fact that his body was not completely dead yet, and used the reincarnation technique to reincarnate into a new body, followed by Orochimaru's hands. The souls of the first and third generations, as well as the fourth generation and half of the 9 tails floated in the air, and then trembled slightly, as if they were summoned by something. Naruto used his powerful mental power to intercept the fourth generation soul and half of the 9 tails, and sealed them in his body using a sealing technique. After doing this, Naruto was quite satisfied with this action. It was a complete success. Orochimaru also opened his eyes, showing a satisfied look, and saw Naruto's movements. It seems that Naruto-kun has also gained a lot. Orochimaru smiled, knowing Naruto's plan this time, but he also achieved his goal. Naruto felt the soul in his body, and the god of death was about to dissipate, but Naruto felt a deep malice. That malice came from the god of death. Death god. Humph. A dead creature from nowhere dares to call himself the death god. Next time, you don't have to come to me. I will take the initiative to find you. Naruto murmured as he looked at the completely dissipated death god. He was sure that this death god would never be the kind of death god he had in mind. The death god in front of him could only be a creature similar to the evil god, and it was very likely not a product of the ninja world. Just like the ghosts of the demon country. The complete 9 tails, so let his strength go one step further. At the stage of Super Shadow, the gap is even greater than Naruto imagined. It takes a long time to accumulate strength step by step to reach the peak of Super Shadow and then peak into the level of the 6 paths. Senju Hashirama relied on the wood escape immortal body and even the immortal technique, while Uchiha Madara used the power of the Mangekyo and Susanoo to quickly reach the peak of Super Shadow. Seeing the big picture from the small, Madara also had some understanding of yin-yang escape. So Naruto needs to strengthen his strength. Even if he is sure that his combat power will reach a very high level when the decisive battle comes, the people around him are not good enough. Chapter 163. In the original work, the reason why Obito's Kamui is so invincible is not only because of his own incredible ability, but also because of the existence of Hashirama's cells. Although Hashirama's cells cannot allow him to achieve the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, they can also allow him to get rid of the side effects of the Mangekyo and use the power of the Mangekyo without restraint. Orochimaru's face also showed an excited look. This comfortable and full feeling is back. Having lost a part of his soul, Orochimaru felt as if he was lacking in energy and listless. A kind of emptiness from the soul made Orochimaru feel deeply exhausted. Several people walked out of the forest together and came to Orochimaru's base. Orochimaru handed a tube of Hashirama's cells to Naruto, and Naruto carefully took out a box and placed it, and then put it into the space ring. Orochimaru looked at the space ring in Naruto's hand, and a hint of color flashed in his eyes. What is this? Naruto rolled his eyes and said, this is a space ring, made using the latest space technology, and the material is the top chakra metal. If you, Orochimaru, can join our organization, this won't be a problem. Orochimaru's eyes widened slightly. When he didn't invite people, he was just Orochimaru, without any respect for his seniors. When he invited people, he used honorifics. No, I prefer to act alone. Orochimaru declined. Naruto didn't force it. There would be plenty of opportunities in the future. This is the method for you to practice the sage mode, and it is definitely much easier than the sage techniques you know. Naruto threw a scroll to Orochimaru, which was the sage technique scroll he had taken out before, but it was a castrated version. However, this is different from the sage mode of the 3 Holy Lands. The sage mode of the 3 Holy Lands was derived from their own practice, and it is more difficult for human practitioners. Therefore, few people can practice it successfully. Although Naruto's method of practicing the sage mode is slow to take effect, it has a very high success rate and can form combat effectiveness within 1 or 2 years. Orochimaru reached out to take it, and was a little excited. He was not only excited about the sage technique scroll, but also excited about his hands that could move again. The previous state of being unable to move was simply making him live a life worse than death. Orochimaru, I'm leaving now. Contact me if you need anything. Naruto made a phone call gesture, and Orochimaru nodded to show that he understood. Naruto flew directly into the sky, which shocked Orochimaru and the others again. Flying ninjutsu. It seems that Naruto-kun still has some cards that have not been exposed. Orochimaru murmured. Naruto gave Orochimaru a very mysterious feeling, which made Orochimaru feel uneasy. He was eager to explore, but also worried that he would be calculated. This is why he did not agree to Naruto's request. Ellipsis. Naruto soon arrived at the Snow Country base. The interior of the Snow Country has changed. The Umbrella organization rebuilt the geothermal device that was researched by the former daimyo, Fuka Koyuki's father, Fuka Soyuki. As soon as Naruto returned to the base, he was warmly welcomed by Fuka Koyuki. Naruto looked at Fuka Koyuki, who had gradually become noble, and felt a little scared. He could feel Fuka Koyuki's feelings for him. He just didn't know how to face it. After all, he still had Hinata, so he could only take it one step at a time. The Santaiu and others at the time have become powerful officials in the Snow Country. They took a risk at the beginning, and now they have repaid their original gamble. When he met Shisui and others, Shisui told Naruto a good news. "Oh, has Gaara become the Wind Shadow?" Naruto smiled, a look of joy flashed across his face. "Looks like we need to celebrate for Gaara." Naruto smiled at Shisui. Gaara becoming the Kazekage is of great significance. He can place some members of the Umbrella in important positions in the Sand Village. The most important thing is the Anbu. This place is also a place where it is not easy to reveal your identity. At the same time, it can also control a country, and the Wind Country has the largest oil field in the ninja world. If someone in the ninja world develops the function of oil, the Wind Country can instantly become one of the richest countries. But all this is destined to benefit Naruto. This is indeed a good thing. Shisui made a cup of tea, pushed it in front of Naruto, and then made a cup for himself. Naruto picked up the teacup, took a sip, and said, "Shisui, you really like making tea more and more. I used to like wine, now I like tea, just like what we are doing now. It is bitter at first, then slowly becomes sweet, and finally your mouth is full of fragrance. You are becoming more and more like a successful leader." Naruto joked, and then continued, "Have the people from the Hyuga branch family been settled?" Shisui paused and said, "Well, it has been almost arranged. We treat all the people from the Hyuga branch family equally, and we have special people to build houses for them, and we have allocated a piece of land for them to use as their new clan land." Hyuga Neji has now become the patriarch of the branch family. After hearing Shisui's answer, Naruto was very satisfied, but there was still one thing. "Shisui, since they have left Konoha, then don't call them people from the branch family. They are Konoha, our umbrella, and they are also our partners." "Okay, I understand." Shisui nodded gently. Naruto, who had left Konoha, no longer needed to hide himself. Shisui now felt a faint aura from Naruto. Naruto was so powerful that he would inadvertently reveal the aura of a strong man and the breath of a superior. Especially Naruto's current mental power was dozens or hundreds of times higher than that of ordinary people. If his aura was not deliberately concealed, people who saw it would feel that it was extraordinary. In Naruto's words from his previous life, that was the temperament of a big boss. If Gaara becomes the Kazekage, we will have the opportunity to build the largest machinery processing factory in the ninja world in the Land of Wind. The oil fields discovered in the Kingdom of Wind can be developed openly. Naruto plans to achieve a technological leap in 3 years, at least to improve his strength by several levels. In this extraordinary world, even Naruto's flower grower in his previous life, who is known for his extreme speed, cannot match the speed of ninja infrastructure. In addition, with the industrial foundation already in place, Naruto can fully materialize some of the developments in his previous life. This is why Naruto was so looking forward to Gaara becoming the Wind Shadow. A wind shadow covering up is enough to do a lot of things. The development of science and technology will drive the improvement of productivity, and the improvement of productivity is conducive to the generation and utilization of resources. The potential of ninja technology has only exploded in the Boruto period, and it has even appeared. However, the existence of scientific ninja tools is not welcomed by Naruto and others. Some older ninjas are even more repulsive. In fact, the existence of scientific ninja tools has greatly shortened the gap between some ninjas, which makes some people afraid, and there are actually reasons why some people do not support scientific ninja tools. The proliferation of scientific ninja tools has caused some ninjas to lose their enterprising spirit, but it has its advantages and can greatly improve the survival ability of some people. Naruto is not opposed to scientific ninja tools. If some people regress, there will always be some people who will make progress. After all, it's like there are so many university places every year. If you don't work hard, someone will naturally replace you. Chapter 164. After communicating with Shisui, Naruto went to the accommodation arranged for Sasuke and others, and a separate training ground was set up for them. Before he got close, he heard the exclamations of several people. This thing is simply a magical artifact. This is countless times better than weight-bearing training. This thing is indeed good news for physical training practitioners. When Naruto got closer, he saw that there were several people gathered in front of a door that looked like a training room. When Naruto saw clearly, he couldn't help but smile. Several people also saw Naruto coming, and Sasuke said a little excitedly, "Can the organization already make this kind of thing? It's really amazing. You want to say it's awesome. Indeed, this thing is indeed extraordinary." Naruto said. The thing that the people in front of him were watching was the organization's latest research on the gravity chamber. By changing the magnetic field, the effect of changing gravity can be achieved, but currently it can only achieve a maximum effect of 5 times. This is limited by technology and materials. Naruto has been conceiving and building it since he developed the martial arts training method. Now he finally sees the results. This thing is indeed much more than weight-bearing training. Those who are here now include Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Neji, Rock Lee, Kurama Yakumo, and a reluctant little pineapple head. That's right, this little pineapple head is Nara Shikamaru. The organization is now extremely short of this kind of think tank talent, and Naruto has already made up his mind to bring Shikamaru back. When the Konoha collapse plan was about to end, Naruto had already used the special shadow clone to replace Shikamaru. After Shikamaru came here, he was also helpless. He couldn't understand why Naruto would target him. Whenever he asked Naruto, he would get a sentence, "I value your wisdom. Don't resist and devote yourself to the organization." Naruto plans to send Shikamaru out after half a year. This half year is not only for Shikamaru to get familiar with the business, but also for training Shikamaru's strength. After all, Shikamaru has to be a frontier official. How can he succeed if he is too weak? Shikamaru's wisdom and talent are very good, but he is a bit too inexperienced. Naruto can also feel that Shikamaru has gone from rejecting him at the beginning to accepting him now. Since he can't resist, he can only accept it. And Shikamaru is only a boy of 12 or 13 years old now, and he still has some young people's impulses. For some teenagers, making achievements is simply unparalleled. Especially after understanding some of the purposes of the umbrella. Shikamaru is smart, and the umbrella's the shock of thought simply opened a door for him. The will of fire was so weak. Since he couldn't go back, Shikamaru also wanted to see how far Naruto could go. Among the crowd, the most excited one was undoubtedly Rock Lee. Among the few people, only Rock Lee specialized in martial arts. Although Yakumo also practiced martial arts, she also practiced bloodline limit. After all, bloodline limit was her strongest means. Sasuke practiced both, so his strength improvement was not very fast, but as long as he opened the Mangekyo, Sasuke's strength immediately reached the level of Kage. Neji's current strength has also entered a relatively bottleneck period, but since they are all in their golden age, the threshold of Kage level is nothing to them. Who wants to test this thing and see how it works? At this time, Ninki said, his eyes full of expectation. It was obvious that he wanted to try it himself. "Let me do it, let me do it." Xiaoli shouted, this thing was tailor-made for him. Several people looked at each other and said, "Okay, let Xiaoli try it." Under the expectant gazes of the crowd, Xiaoli walked into the practice room. Xiaoli, who entered the practice room, looked at the bright environment in the practice room, thinking about the rules he had learned before. Xiaoli looked at a slightly protruding table with some high-precision screens on it. The operation was very simple. After Xiaoli simply identified his identity and deducted the corresponding points, Xiaoli chose a most basic gravity of 1 times gravity. According to the instructions, people who have never been exposed to gravity training need to gradually adapt from the beginning, otherwise they are likely to be left with hidden injuries. After turning on the double gravity, Xiaoli just felt that his body was a little heavy at first. Although he was not tall, due to his bone density and physical fitness, his weight had exceeded 100 kilograms. Xiaoli did not feel the 100 kilograms of gravity pressing on his body, but soon, his face changed. Gravity training involves the whole body, which is why he was extremely excited before. All cells in the body will be affected by gravity, but this does not mean that the cells will also bear 100 kilograms of pressure. Normally, the pressure felt by the cells is 1, so now the pressure felt is 2, and the overall feeling may be dozens, or even more. The cell is like an individual, and the body is like. Compared to a whole, the pressure on an individual is not the same as that on the whole. But with Xiaoli's current physical fitness, he can easily bear it. Xiaoli continued to increase it, 2 times, 3 times. At this time, Xiaoli felt that he could still bear it, but his chest was a bit stuffy. Continue to increase it, all the way to the current 5 times. Xiaoli felt a heavy pressure. This pressure did not come from the body's tolerance, but from the inside of the body. The internal organ's tolerance for gravity is much lower than the body's tolerance for gravity. The current 5 times gravity is equivalent to a ton of pressure for Xiaoli, and he usually carries more than that. But gravity, unlike carrying weight, my internal organs are now burning and I feel breathless. This is because I haven't adapted yet. Although 5 times the gravity is strong, it is still not enough for Xiaoli now. However, if Xiaoli completes the steps of martial arts to refine his internal organs, then it will be an easy thing for Xiaoli to control gravity. Xiaoli is still in the bone refining stage. It is not easy to temper the bones of the whole body. But it is almost done. After Xiaoli finished the experiment, he turned off the device in the gravity room and walked out of the gravity room. Then he saw a group of curious eyes. Several people gathered around him. Xiaoli, how is the effect? Don't worry, let me explain in detail. The gravity room is a great invention and a blessing for physical and martial arts practitioners. He can temper his body in all aspects, and his training efficiency can be increased by 3 to 5 times. And Xiaoli slowly expressed his feelings. 3 to 5 times. The eyes of several people lit up. They knew very well that this would bring about such changes. 30 years of training could be shortened to 10 years. Isn't it because it is difficult to practice that there are few physical ninjas? After practicing for decades, one may not reach the peak, but the physical fitness will begin to decline. Who can persist in this? If the gravity room is popularized, the formation of martial arts training will undoubtedly be faster. Compared with the ninja system, martial arts training still takes a long time. As long as the ninja has enough chakra and possesses a powerful ninjutsu, he can quickly form combat effectiveness. Chapter 165. After Xiaoli's words, several people couldn't wait to try it. After a simple exploration, they found that gravity training is indeed a very helpful way to practice, and they couldn't help but get excited. Even Shikamaru, who is a bit inexperienced, felt the huge impact of this thing. The Nara clan will also exercise their bodies and use secret medicine to lay a solid foundation for their descendants. What will it be like if the family's secret medicine is combined with the gravity training room? Shikamaru couldn't help but think of a scene of a group of people in the family with muscles all over their bodies. Even the inherited ninjutsu of the Nara clan has given up practicing, and he couldn't help but tremble. I dare not think about it. Although this thing is good, it is not suitable for the Nara clan. They play tactics. How can they play bare arms like the Akamichi clan? Naruto also tried it. Even he hadn't tried the latest development. Naruto felt the oppression brought by gravity. This oppression is dispensable for Naruto now. After a little adaptation, Naruto can easily bear it. If it is used for practice, Naruto said that it is not necessary. He can achieve growth in his own strength by relying on the way of heaven rewarding hard work. The reason why his strength grows so fast is that God rewards hard work, as if it helped him break the bottleneck. He has no bottleneck, only accumulation. But his strength is not growing fast now, especially the root after the super shadow. He lacks sufficient cognition, which causes the ability of God to help hard work to grow to a certain level. Naruto has come to the conclusion from the previous development that only if he has a certain cognition or foundation of things or other things, the growth brought by God to hard work will be huge. Otherwise, it can only be accumulated slowly. Although the gravity room is good, the gravity multiple is still too small. Judging from the current situation, it is estimated that it will not have much effect on strong people above the shadow level. Ellipsis. No one knows that a person is sucking blood crazily in the umbrella organization. In a base, what caught the eye was a variety of puppet materials. This is a huge underground base, but there are also electric lights inside. In a huge space, a man was placed in front of a huge steel creation. This man was Scorpion. Scorpion had been a little crazy recently. He even gave up the human puppets that he had admired so much and turned to studying technological creations. An airplane has been restored by him. He has mastered the manufacturing principles and processes of the airplane. Looking at the airplane in front of him, Scorpion's eyes flashed with fanaticism. Not only that, next to the airplane, there is another thing designed by Scorpion, which looks like a frame. Scorpion's current level has surpassed the mentor in his area. After all, the mentor who taught him the principles of mechanics is not the top scientist of Umbrella. Scorpion can even draw inferences from one example. He can build an airplane, but he is not satisfied. The limitations of the airplane are still quite large and are only suitable for air combat. The huge frame next to the airplane is Scorpion's next target. Because of the material, most puppets are about the same size as humans, but technology has given Scorpion a different inspiration. Some metals can be transformed into tougher metals through special fusion. Although they cannot conduct chakra, they are strong enough. Even the strength can reach a terrifying level. If Naruto were here, he would find that the huge human frame in front of Scorpion is very much like a mecha or Gundam. That's right, Scorpion wanted to design a huge human puppet, and accidentally collided with the mecha in Naruto's previous life. Due to the flexibility and material of the puppet, it is impossible to make it giant. Such a giant puppet can bankrupt the Wind Country, of course, referring to the materials used to make the puppet. In Scorpion's vision, this big guy in front of him will have three functions: sea, land and air. Energy is directly replaced by chakra. After engraving the seal rune, the combat power brought by this big guy is terrifying. Of course, it is not perfect yet, but Scorpion is already preparing. He expects to complete the research on this huge puppet in front of him in a year. The most important thing at present is how to improve the power of this big guy. Although his own use is powerful, it would be a waste if he doesn't use the power of chakra. This big guy in front of me will be my most perfect work. He will be the pinnacle of puppetry, and he will surpass all puppeteers. Scorpion's eyes were blurred and his voice was trembling. He will create a precedent for puppetry. Scorpion did not report his joining the Umbrella to the organization. Basically, as long as you complete the tasks assigned by the Akatsuki organization, the organization will no longer care about you. Looking at the huge puppet in front of him, Scorpion calmed down. Now he has to continue to evolve. He wants to give himself a thorough transformation. Although human puppets are powerful and can retain their ninjutsu before death, their potential is not great. It is limited by the level of the puppeteer himself and the level of the deceased before death. But this huge puppet in front of him allows Scorpion to exert power far beyond his own. Scorpion did not skimp on his body transformation. In the next few days, Scorpion not only prepared extremely precious materials, but also used a small amount of chakra metal in this new puppet. On the body. A few days later, Scorpion successfully created a puppet that was similar to his original body. After branding the sealing technique, Scorpion entered this body and tested it himself. This body is the culmination of all of Scorpion's current technologies, equivalent to the small product he had conceived, but it still lacks a lot. Scorpion walked out of the base and couldn't wait to start experimenting. Although he lost some ninjutsu, he also gained some strange abilities. Soon, Scorpion tested one of his abilities again, and saw that the puppet, which looked like a human, actually changed its form and flew directly. Scorpion actually transformed himself into a small airplane. Scorpion, floating in the air, couldn't help but say, "Now I can probably be called an airplane man." Scorpion changed his form again, his voice with a hint of excitement, "Gear 2." The speed of the plane increased again, and the previous form was just the basic form. Scorpion shuttled through the air, and the speed directly caused an air explosion. After a while, Scorpion flew over a lake, and the whole person changed again, and plunged directly into the water. After a while, a strange object resembling a submarine floated up. After that, Scorpion changed his form again, turned into a plane and flew towards the base. When it arrived above the base, Scorpion turned back into human form. No one saw this scene. If Naruto saw this scene, he would probably sigh that Scorpion had turned himself into a robot. There are only a very small number of lines that are not yet available, and chakra has already replaced a large part. What dominates the robot is a person's soul. Scorpion is definitely a talent. Unlike Orochimaru, Scorpion's talent lies in mechanical technology. Chapter 166. Naruto looked at the woman in front of him, with a delicate face, golden hair, and a diamond-shaped mark on her forehead that added a bit of extra charm to her. Tsunade, who was dressed in a white coat, looked at Naruto in disbelief. Just a few minutes ago, Naruto confessed everything to her, leaving Tsunade a little overwhelmed. After the Konoha collapse plan fermented, the fact that Naruto and his men had defected became known to almost everyone. Tsunade had naturally heard about it, but what Tsunade could not have imagined was that the current organization was actually created by Tsunade herself. Moreover, Tsunade also saw a familiar figure. Uchiha Shisui. And several other Uchiha members. All this seemed incredible. Don't you think it's incredible? Naruto smiled. Tsunade's expression was a bit complicated. She couldn't imagine how evil Naruto was. He could do this. He started planning several years ago. How old was Naruto at that time? You are the most evil genius I have ever seen. Tsunade's eyes were complicated. She took a deep breath and said, "Thank you for the compliment." Naruto raised the corner of his mouth, and then said, "Tsunade, after such a long time, I believe you also know that the world created by your uncle Senju Hashirama is simply impossible to achieve peace. Before Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha were alive, no one in the ninja world dared to move, but after they died, the ninja world was no longer peaceful, and the fighting between the ninja clans escalated into fighting between ninja villages. The battle scene became even more chaotic and affected a wider range. The development of the ninja world did not go according to his ideas. People are greedy and interests are the essence of this world. Is there anything wrong with them wanting to live a better life? There is no problem with that. The problem is that the previous system did not allow them to live a better life. Water flows to low places, and people go to high places. This is human nature. There is no place in the ninja world where this goal can be achieved. But we can. As long as you work hard enough, you can get good enough treatment. As long as you have talent, you will not be buried. The capable ones will rise and the mediocre ones will fall. We can create more resources. With resources, we can ease the competitive pressure among people. In this world, the distribution of resources is extremely uneven. The nobles are well fed, but the common people are still worried about 3 meals a day. We can overthrow these nobles, re-establish order, and distribute the land to the people. We have scientists who can increase food production, we have powerful ninjas, and powerful warriors. We can achieve our goals by addressing the most fundamental issues. Naruto looked at Tsunade with sharp eyes, which made Tsunade feel a little uncomfortable. After a period of time, Tsunade was no longer half understanding what Naruto said. After deeply understanding the idea of umbrella, you will find that the idea of umbrella is to start from the most fundamental issues. There is a policy that points directly to the right path, and a road that points directly to the avenue. The changes that umbrella has brought to the surrounding villagers are visible to the naked eye. In fact, umbrella absorbs ordinary people, and the changes in some places cannot be hidden from the local rulers. It's just that these people who want to interfere with the umbrella plan are either bribed or controlled by illusions. In some places, even the governors have thrown themselves into the arms of umbrella. This is also the reason why umbrella has not been exposed on a large scale. With the recent actions of the umbrella organization, it is only a matter of time before it is discovered. Naruto does not intend to hide for a long time, but he has to buy time for development first. Tsunade's expression flickered, and her red lips opened slightly. Why are you saying so much? Naruto waved his hand, knowing that Tsunade was not so easy to fool. However, seeing Tsunade's expression, Naruto also knew that the purpose of this time had been achieved. Naruto said this mainly to continuously deepen Tsunade's sense of integration with the organization. Tsunade's thinking is mature, and she has seen through the ninja world. She is not a radical person, so she can only use the method of stewing chicken with mushrooms to slowly make Tsunade return to her heart. I want you to help me research something. Naruto directly started the conversation and stated the purpose of this trip. What is this? Tsunade looked at the tube of reagent in Naruto's hand curiously. These are your great-grandfather's cells. As soon as Naruto started, he saw Tsunade's angry eyes and bulging arms. Boom! A big hole suddenly appeared on the ground, and Naruto's figure had already appeared in another place. Little brat, how dare you desecrate my great-grandfather's body? Tsunade was extremely angry and punched Naruto again. Naruto stretched out his palm, and Tsunade's earth-shattering punch was directly caught by Naruto. Don't get me wrong, this is what I got from Konoha. You know about these things in Konoha, don't you? Looking at the angry Tsunade, Naruto loosened his palm and looked at Tsunade jokingly. HMPH. Tsunade retracted her fist and snorted coldly. She was blinded by anger just now. After the death of the first generation, the top leaders of the Konoha clan began to plan to replicate the miracle of the first generation, but no miracle happened in the end. Many members of the Senju clan even died in this plan. However, the subsequent developments made Tsunade a little confused. When she came to her senses, the members of the Senju clan had actually declined to the extreme. In the early days of the third generation's ascension to the throne, his position was unstable, but with the support of the first generation Hokage's wife, Uzumaki Mito, the third generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen gradually gained a foothold. He even accepted Tsunade as a disciple. At that time, the Senju clan still had a lot of say, but how could the simple Senju clan beat the third generation and others who inherited the political skills of the second generation? The third generation and others eliminated dissidents and continuously increased their own political power. In the end, the Konoha high-level officials became the few small ones at the beginning. Partners. He is Hiruzen Sarutobi, Danzo Shimura, Mito Kato-en, and Kaharu Utatane. They are collectively known as the F4 of Konoha. Since then, no one has been able to reach the position of elder, and the top management is tightly controlled. Continuously strengthening their own strength led to the decline of Konoha. Tsunade also vaguely knew some of the darkness from the village, such as the wood release plan. However, that plan seemed to have stopped, looking at the Hashirama cells that Naruto took out again. Tsunade's heart was burning with rage. Naruto did not say that he got it from Orochimaru, but said that he got it from Konoha. In fact, this was also what Orochimaru got from Danzo, and there was nothing wrong with saying it came from Konoha. This also made Tsunade realize that Konoha has not given up that plan yet, and is still desecrating the remains of his great-grandfather. Tsunade looked at Naruto with an ugly face and said, "Do you think I will help you do this?" Naruto smiled lightly. It seems that he has to take out his trump card. "I think you will agree. As long as you agree to help me study Hashirama's cells, I can help you resurrect your great-grandfather Hashirama Senju and the second-generation Tobirama Senju in the future." "What did you say?" Tsunade couldn't believe her ears. "Resurrection. Are you trying to desecrate the souls of my great-grandfather and second-grandfather?" Tsunade shouted angrily, her body trembling, and she thought of a technique. Chapter 167. Don't get me wrong, this is not a fake resurrection like the impure world reincarnation, but a real resurrection. Naruto's words startled Tsunade, and the anger in her heart was immediately suppressed. Naruto spoke again. "You should have heard of the Samsara Eye." "Samsara Eye? You mean the eyes of the Six Paths Sage?" Tsunade asked in surprise. "That's right, the eyes of the Six Paths Sage, the Samsara Eye, have the power to revive people." Tsunade suddenly sneered at this. "You said this is the eye of the Six Paths Sage, so how can I revive my great-grandfather and his people?" Naruto waved his hand, signaling to stay calm, and then continued, "Then we have to start with the origin of the Senju clan and the Uchiha clan." "Senju and Uchiha?" "Yes, Senju and Uchiha. Senju and Uchiha come from the same ancestor, that is the Sage of Six Paths." "How is this possible?" Tsunade exclaimed. "If it was according to Naruto, the Senju and Uchiha clans would have the same origin. But the two don't look alike at all." "Don't doubt it, the Six Paths Sage had two sons, named Indra and Ashura. They are the ancestors of Uchiha and Senju. One of them inherited the sage body of the Six Paths Sage, and the other inherited the sage eyes of the Six Paths Sage. But because Indra was competitive and was instigated by a filial son, the two became enemies and fought each other. This is also the reason why Uchiha and Senju have been fighting endlessly." Tsunade's eyes narrowed slightly, and Naruto's words instantly made Tsunade feel like she had opened the door to the world. Moreover, the Uzumaki clan is also the descendant of the Six Paths Sage. What does this have to do with the Samsara Eye? Tsunade frowned. Naruto's words seemed to have no direct connection with the previous question. "Of course it is related," Naruto said loudly. "The ultimate evolution direction of the Uchiha family's Sharingan is the Samsara Eye. As long as it evolves into the Rinnegan, your great-grandfather and second-grandfather can be resurrected, and even my parents can be resurrected." After listening to this, Tsunade did not immerse herself in the big cake drawn by Naruto. Instead, she shook her head and said rationally, "Your imagination is beautiful, but even Uchiha Madara did not evolve the Sharingan into the Rinnegan. All this is just imagination." Tsunade may believe what Naruto said, that the Sharingan can evolve into the Rinnegan, but even Uchiha Madara did not have the Rinnegan, which is almost impossible. Naruto suddenly clapped his hands on the ground, and dark runes appeared, and a transparent barrier appeared. It enveloped several people. "What are you doing? I must be cautious in the following conversation," Naruto said seriously. He must ensure that what he said next could not be leaked. Black Zetsu aside, there was an Otsutsuki family in the sky who were eyeing them covetously. The huge Samsara Eye was monitoring the ninja world. What if it scanned him? The Rinnegan has been born. Uchiha Madara did not die that year. He has handed the Rinnegan to a man named Uzumaki Nagato. He's even planning to revive himself. Naruto looked serious, his eyes piercing, his edge revealed. "What did you say?" Tsunade lost her voice. "You also know this person, the three children that Jiraiya took in the Land of Rain. Do you still remember him?" Naruto continued, instantly triggering Tsunade's memories. It seemed that Jiraiya did teach 3 children from the land of rain, and only returned to Konoha 3 years later. Tsunade came back to her senses from her thoughts, looked at Naruto's resolute and handsome face, and said, "Then do you want to cultivate a pair of Rinnegan again?" I'm not saying that it's almost impossible to cultivate a pair of Samsara eyes again. Not everyone is Uchiha Madara. Although I don't like him, I can't deny his ability. Tsunade said seriously. As a being who can fight with his great-grandfather, Uchiha Madara's talent and strength are beyond doubt. Naruto smiled. Of course he knew how difficult it was to give birth to the Samsara Eye, but he was different. He knew how to give birth to the Samsara Eye. Moreover, all the conditions were met. The birth of the Samsara Eye requires Hagoromo, that is, the chakra of the 6 Paths Sage. His sons inherited the chakra of the 6 Paths Sage respectively. In other words, as long as you have the chakra of Ashura and Indra, as long as Sasuke can reach the level of the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, you can give birth to the Samsara Eye. In the original work, Uchiha Madara was able to open the Samsara Eye with a mouthful of the flesh and blood of Hashirama Senju. Now Naruto only needs to borrow a little bit of the Ashura and Indra chakra in his and Sasuke's bodies to reproduce the Samsara Eye. And Naruto suspects that the descendants of the 6 Paths Sage, such as speaking of Uchiha and Senju, Naruto suspected that their DNA was not complete at all. Or Ashura and Indra were not born through conventional means. They inherited some abilities of the 6 Paths Sage respectively. Perhaps the two did not reproduce normally, which led to the defects of the Sharingan. But these are all Naruto's guesses. Naruto is not worried about what will happen if he tells Tsunade about this. After all, she may know in the future that Black Zetsu is not the enemy he must face. His real enemy comes from outer space. The Otsutsuki clan is his real threat. The Otsutsuki who planted the fruit of the sacred tree, and from the original situation, the sacred tree absorbs the essence of the planet, which will undoubtedly bring great disasters to the ninja world. Naruto looked at Tsunade again. Don't worry about the matter of the Samsara Eye, but I can promise that in 3 years I can resurrect your great-grandfather and second-grandfather. In this case, Hashirama's cells are crucial. Naruto looked at Tsunade, his tone full of irresistible dominance. Tisk, this kid is obviously not that old. Yet he is so domineering. Tsunade was secretly complaining. But she still saw Naruto's determination. Okay, I promise you, but if you can't keep your promise, don't blame me for turning hostile. Tsunade said seriously. After all, studying Hashirama's cells is equivalent to blaspheming her great-grandfather. If Naruto can't revive Hashirama Senju, Tsunade will definitely make a fuss. Deal. Naruto extended his hand to Tsunade, who hesitated for a moment before holding Naruto's hand. Facing the current Naruto, Tsunade would not treat Naruto as a child. Naruto's eyes were deeper and wiser than anyone else. Naruto handed the test tube to Tsunade and said, Hashirama cells can alleviate the side effects of the Mangekyo Sharingan. I hope you can make them merge perfectly. After that, Naruto took Shisui away and untied the barrier. Shisui followed behind Naruto, feeling a little dizzy. The amount of information today is a bit too much. Senju actually has a connection with Uchiha. It was also the first time he knew such a secret. Uchiha Madara did not die that year and opened the Samsara Eye. After Naruto left, Tsunade stared at the Hashirama cells in her hand in a trance. Why did Naruto know so much? Could he predict the future? This is also the reason why Naruto never explains, because invisible brain supplements are the most deadly. Chapter 168. After Naruto left, Tsunade stared at the Hashirama cells in her hand in a trance, thinking about what Naruto said, that he could revive her great-grandfather and second-grandfather, and even Rope Tree. Tsunade's eyes could not help but show some light and hope. Even if the hope was slim, she could still try. Tsunade turned and left. Although Tsunade was not Orochimaru and had been studying this for a long time, Tsunade, as the most outstanding medical ninja in the ninja world, had a deep understanding of cells. Compared with Orochimaru, who changed his career halfway, Tsunade had a deep foundation. Ellipsis. Tsunade must be in a complicated mood right now, but there is one person who is in a more complicated mood. At this moment, he was lying in the hot spring with a helpless look on his face. It was Jiraiya. He originally thought that this was a good job, wasn't it, just to find Tsunade? Simple. Tsunade often appears in major casinos, and even Jiraiya has heard of Tsunade's reputation as a big fat sheep. Although he has never met, Jiraiya is still relatively clear about Tsunade's whereabouts. It's just that he hasn't heard from Tsunade recently. He thought that Tsunade was temporarily out of money, but now it seems that she has evaporated from the face of the earth. He also paid off a lot of gambling debts for Tsunade before. Feeling the comfort brought by the hot spring, Jiraiya almost immersed himself in it, but when he thought that if he didn't bring Tsunade back, the second-generation Hokage would definitely make him look bad, and even give him the mess of Konoha. This is not what Jiraiya wants to see. Although his own political sense is not weak, it is precisely because of this that he doesn't want to take over Konoha and fight with that group of people. As for Tsunade, with her temper, it goes without saying that she would be scheming against those people. Anyone who displeases Tsunade will have to taste the power of Tsunade's fist. Tsunade is the granddaughter of the first and second generations, a princess canonized by the daimyo of the Land of Fire, and the heir of the Senju clan. With Tsunade's identity, she can definitely take charge of all the power by becoming the Hokage. At the same time, Jiraiya is also happy to see a prosperous Konoha. After taking a hot spring bath and paying the bill, Jiraiya looked at the blue sky and white clouds in the sky. A flash of melancholy flashed through his mind, and he slowly walked through the streets of the short street. From time to time, shouts could be heard from the casino on the street. This is a large casino famous throughout the ninja world, and it was also Tsunade's favorite place before. Now Tsunade can't be found here, and Jiraiya is helpless. Tsunade, where have you been? He smiled bitterly. It seems there is only one way. Jiraiya quickly walked out of the short street and came to a place with dense trees. He formed seals with his hands, a puff of smoke appeared, and Jiraiya disappeared on the spot. A place that looked a bit weird, with tall buildings, huge insects, and even many huge toads. A white-haired man appeared. It was Jiraiya, who had just used the reverse summoning technique to come to Myoboku Mountain. Hey, isn't this Jiraiya? Why are you here at Myoboku Mountain? There was a rumbling sound of thunder, and Jiraiya looked up and saw a huge blue-green toad with his hands on his chest and two huge swords on his back. He looked a little arrogant, but most people who use swords are like this. They think this is the demeanor of a swordsman, but to outsiders, it's just pretending. It's Gamahiro. I've come to talk to Sage Fukasaku about something. Jiraiya greeted him with a smile. Jiraiya was quite popular in Myoboku Mountain. After greeting, Jiraiya went to find Sage Fukasaku and Shima. Sage Fukasaku was the great commander of Myoboku Mountain. His strength surpassed that of ordinary ninjas, and he had been practicing for more than 800 years. He was able to use magic. In the original work, he teamed up with Jiraiya and even killed 3 Pains. If they hadn't known the information about Pains, and if Jiraiya hadn't been unwilling to use the reverse summoning technique to return to Myoboku Mountain, how could Jiraiya and Sage Fukasaku have escaped unscathed? Little Jiraiya, why are you here? Do you want to taste the latest delicacy I learned? Shima Sennin warmly entertained Jiraiya. Fukasaku and Sesame were different in size from other toads. They looked small, but their strength was definitely not to be ignored. Jiraiya showed an embarrassed look on his face, and what emerged in his mind was a plate of insects. No, I came here mainly to ask if there is any way for the Sage Fukasaku to contact the Wet Bone Forest. I want to find Tsunade. Jiraiya said slowly, and also told what happened in Konoha recently. The changes in Konoha also made Fukasaku and Shima sigh. Little Jiraiya, do you have anything important to say? Asked the immortal Fukasaku curiously. It's not a particularly important thing. It's important to say it's important, but it's not that important to say it's not important either. Jiraiya said with a wry smile. Yes, this matter is very important to any village, but only Jiraiya said so. This also indirectly shows that Jiraiya really has no idea about the position of Hokage. All right, leave this to me, said Fukasaku. Jiraiya was delighted, and Shima quickly invited Jiraiya to come in and sit down. Little Jiraiya, don't worry, just write a letter and I will pass it to the Slug Sage when the time comes. Yes, don't worry, little Jiraiya, come and try my latest cooking. Shima Sage said, and then brought up a plate of food of an unknown creature. There is actually only one creature in the Wetbone Forest, and the little slugs summoned by Tsunade are actually all clones of the Slug Sage, which is very magical. The slugs in the Wetbone Forest are similar to the giant toad Tsukuiwa in Myoboku Mountain. They are so big that they are scary. Jiraiya quickly wrote a letter and handed it to Fukasaku Sage, then he looked at the food on the table with a pale look. Then he had to bite the bullet and eat a little. Unexpectedly, the food tasted good this time, but it looked a little creepy. Ellipsis. On the other hand, Tsunade, who had worked all day, felt a little tired, but her eyes were full of excitement. She found that the Uchiha genes were similar to the Senju genes, which meant that the Senju and Uchiha genes that Naruto mentioned really had a common ancestor. After working hard all day, she suddenly found that the slug appeared beside her. Slug, why are you here? Tsunade was a little surprised. Slug took out the letter from Jiraiya, and left after a brief exchange. The three holy places have ways to communicate with each other, but as for the relationship, it is not certain. Slug is on the neutral side, but he is not very interested in Raichi Cave. As for Myoboku Mountain, it is a mortal enemy of Raichi Cave. Tsunade slowly opened the letter, which contains some content written by Jiraiya to her. Tsunade read it carefully, frowning from time to time. After reading it, Tsunade threw the letter on the table. Let me go back to be Hokage, how is that possible? Hokage, only a fool would want to be one. Tsunade said angrily, whoever wants to be Hokage can be one, she doesn't want to be one. Chapter 169. Tsunade saw that this was most likely due to Jiraiya. In terms of seniority in Konoha, Jiraiya was already qualified. This guy must not want to be the Hokage, so he put the blame on me. But Tsunade couldn't help but frown. Jiraiya's letter also mentioned Tsunade's second grandfather, Senju Tobarama. According to rumors, Senju Tobarama should be in the state of impure world reincarnation. Tsunade also has a certain understanding of this technique, but she doesn't know much. In the whole Konoha, only Orochimaru has successfully mastered this technique. Tsunade picked up the letter thrown on the table again. The paper was slightly yellow. Tsunade's eyes fell on the last sentence, which was an address. Tsunade raised her head. The wooden ceiling was dotted with spots, and the bright incandescent light made her eyes a little dazed. Suddenly, Tsunade made a decision to meet Jiraiya. After destroying the letter, sealing the experimental equipment, and turning off the incandescent light, Tsunade slowly walked out of the room. Ellipsis. In an open space of the umbrella organization, Shisui looked at the figure not far away. Sasuke, Lee and others were also there, and Sasuke gradually came into contact with the top leaders of the umbrella organization. Especially when Shisui appeared in front of Sasuke, Sasuke's eyes were wet. It turned out that he was not the only one left in the huge Uchiha clan, there were also some survivors of the Uchiha clan. This relieved Sasuke's depressed heart a little, and the mission of revitalizing the family did not seem to be entirely on him, making people breathless. Sasuke then learned that on the night of the genocide, Naruto saved some people, and even the remains of his parents, and preserved them with special means. This made Sasuke very grateful to Naruto, but Sasuke did not blame Naruto for not saving his parents. After all, Naruto was not very old at the time, and it was the best to be able to do this. And Naruto also told Sasuke that there might be a way to resurrect his parents in the future. In this world, the laws of life and death are not very deep, and Naruto doesn't even know whether reincarnation exists. From the fact that Orochimaru can use a technique to pull out the dead soul, it can be seen that the boundary between life and death is not so exaggerated. At this moment, Naruto decided to release the 9 tails. After all, he had already left Konoha, so he didn't need to hide anywhere. Moreover, with Naruto's current strength, even without the 9 tails power, he was a rare existence in the ninja world. Naruto, are you really ready? In Naruto's sealed space, the 9 tails said seriously. Kurama, I promise to give you freedom. Although you cannot be completely free now, you can be free from the constraints of the sealed space. Naruto laughed and said loudly. Generally, when the tailed beasts break away from the Jinchuriki, it will lead to the death of the Jinchuriki, so Naruto now does not want the 9 tails to break away from him, but to let the 9 tails break free from the shackles of the seal. Only by releasing the shackles of the seal can Naruto make the most of the power of the 9 tails. In addition, the 9 tails also has the ability to absorb natural energy. If this is placed in the world of cultivation, the 9 tails is a large spirit gathering array. At the same time, the 4th generation Hokage Minato Namikaze is also more worried about this matter. His soul is now lodged in Naruto's body. Only in this way will his soul not be summoned by the Pure Land. Don't worry, Dad. With my current attainments in sealing techniques, I can do it without any damage. Naruto patted his chest and said. Completely integrated with the existence of the original Naruto, the intimacy with Minato Namikaze is from the inside out. From the perspective of blood relationship, Naruto has no problem calling Minato Namikaze dad, although he was a little uncomfortable at first. Recently, Minato Namikaze has been a little confused. He was still fighting against the God of Death in the God of Death's stomach, but he didn't expect to leave the God of Death's stomach directly. When he regained consciousness, he was already in Naruto's body. Naruto also learned some things about the God of Death from Minato Namikaze. And from the fact that their souls have not been wiped out by the God of Death for so long, it can be seen that the God of Death does not seem to be that powerful. Maybe there is a possibility that there is more than one God of Death. Of course, Naruto has no time to explore all this. At this moment, Naruto is also ready. 9 llamas, are you ready? Ready. Naruto appeared in the consciousness space and stretched out his hand to remove the seal. At this time, a hand grabbed Naruto. It was the consciousness body left by Minato Namikaze. Naruto. Naruto was no exception when Minato Namikaze's consciousness appeared, and he had even prepared for it. Minato, who was just a ball of chakra, could not know Naruto's past. Only those who understand chakra know that chakra can record information, but it is not a soul. How can it know what is happening in the outside world at all times? In this way, it will only cause chakra consumption and this consciousness will dissipate. Therefore, when it is not necessary, this chakra consciousness is in a dormant state. At this time, he didn't know what happened, he just thought that the 9 tails was tempting Naruto to unseal. Don't worry, we have already prepared for all this, said the soul body Namikaze Minato. When the 2 Namikaze Minato appeared, the scene was a little inexplicably suspicious. Didn't I use the demonic Fujin at the beginning? The conscious body of Minato Namikaze was still stuck in the original impression. But he soon understood. No matter what, if even I say so, then I will believe you. After the chakra left by Minato Namikaze was finished, it turned directly into a ray of light and merged into the body of the soul body Minato Namikaze. After being stunned for a few seconds, Minato Namikaze turned around and said, "Your mother also left chakra behind. You can meet her now. She must be surprised that our child has grown so big." Minato Namikaze revealed a smile. Minato had already made the decision when he decided to seal the 9 tails in Naruto's body. Although the time was very short at that time, Minato had considered everything that might happen in the future and even left a few procedures. His and Uzumaki Kushina's chakras are insurances. The first one is naturally him. If the 9 tails breaks the seal later, then Kushina will reseal the 9 tails. Naruto's Naruto is in action, and Naruto in the outside world is not idle either. He began to make seals and prepare to lift the seal. In the original work, Minato Namikaze gave the key to lift the seal to Gameiken. But with Naruto's current attainments in sealing techniques, he doesn't even need a key to lift the seal without damage. After a few seals, the 9 tails felt that the seal that had been binding him had disappeared. Just as he felt a sense of freedom, suddenly several thick steel chains pierced through his body and nailed him directly to the wall of the sealed space. 9 tails. A woman with bright red hair was looking at Kyuubi with pride. "You want to seduce my son? No way." Kushina looked at the 9 tails smugly, and saw someone staring at her. Naruto thought to himself, "This thick-skinned woman is worthy of being my biological mother." Naruto in the original work definitely inherited some of her character. Chapter 170. He felt unbearable pain, but mainly because he couldn't move his body. This familiar method instantly reminded him of who did it. Thinking back, since he was sealed into the body of the first Hokage's wife Uzumaki Mito, he had hardly moved. Uzumaki Mito's attainments in sealing techniques were enough to control him tightly. Even when she died, the 9 tails didn't cause any waves. Uzumaki Mito could even force a tug of war to obtain chakra from the 9 tails. After entering Uzumaki Kushina's body, his limbs were bound, and even his tail could hardly move. The reason why he accepted Naruto so easily was not only because he felt sincerity from Naruto, but also because he felt the long-lost freedom. In Naruto's body, at least he was no longer like before, unable to move. Now the feeling of being restricted in freedom came up again, and the 9 tails instantly became furious. Just when he was about to go crazy, the 4th Hokage standing next to Naruto hurriedly grabbed Uzumaki Kushina and explained the matter again. Only then did Kushina look embarrassed. But more of it was shock, especially that Naruto had actually reached a partnership with the 9 tails. The 9 tails looked at Kushina with a pair of huge vertical pupils, his eyes full of unkindness, and then a voice came into his ears, "Kulama." The 9 tails' restless heart calmed down for a moment, and turned his head away from Kushina. After Minato's confirmation, Kushina removed all the shackles on the 9 tails. Then Naruto saw that Kushina's consciousness was a little fainter, which was a sign of dissipation. Naruto hurriedly looked at the 9 tails. The 9 tails snorted impatiently, obviously still brooding over what had just happened. But he still threw a ball of chakra at Uzumaki Kushina to help her maintain her consciousness. Naruto was relieved when he saw this scene, and at the same time it was a little confusing. In short, it was very complicated. He didn't know how to face Kushina. During the 9 tails rebellion, he had heard the woman's whispers and felt her sincere love. After integrating everything about Naruto, he also recognized that this woman was his mother in this life. At the same time, he looked at the 9 tails with gratitude. If the 9 tails didn't help, Kushina's consciousness would probably dissipate. "Cuba, thank you very much." Naruto breathed a sigh of relief and said to the 9 tails. Then Naruto walked to Kushina with mixed feelings. Kushina looked at Naruto excitedly, and then hugged Naruto tightly in her arms. Naruto was slightly stunned, and then hugged Kushina. Minato stood aside and watched this scene. Kushina also began to tell Naruto her heart, and Naruto also began to tell him about his experiences over the years. When she knew that Naruto had left Konoha, Kushina was slightly stunned, and then she supported him. Especially when she knew how Naruto had been treated before, she looked back at Minato Namikaze fiercely. Minato Namikaze shuddered inexplicably. "Naruto, it's all Mom's fault. It's all Mom's fault that you've suffered so much." Kusuna's eyes were filled with tears as she hugged Naruto's back tightly. Naruto's eyes were also filled with tears. Is this what it feels like to have a family? In his previous life, as an orphan, he had never experienced this feeling. "Mom, I'm fine. Will you blame me for leaving Konoha?" Naruto asked softly. "Kid, you did nothing wrong. It's all the fault of the old bastard Sandai. Naruto, you have suffered all these years. Kushina said with concern. Naruto's heart trembled. Although he knew that Kushina might support him, he couldn't help but feel touched when he heard these words. As for Minato, he looked at Kushina with an innocent face. Kushina glared at him fiercely just now. He didn't want to do it well. Who knows about the Sandai? Hey, thinking of this, Minato felt a little helpless. The kind-looking old man was also unbelievable when Naruto first said it. He can only say that he misjudged the person. Naruto was still immersed in the joy of family reunion. Ellipsis. Ellipsis. At this moment, ever since Naruto defected from Konoha, Black Zetsu began to investigate Naruto's intelligence. He would never allow things to go beyond his control. After thousands of years of planning, now is the easiest time to succeed. For thousands of years, Indra and Ashura have been reincarnated, but neither of them can open the Samsara Eye. And only the Samsara Eye can allow him to save his mother. The conditions for saving Kagaya are the 10 Tails and the Infinite Moon reading. So after Black Zetsu found an opportunity, he ambushed Uchiha Madara, and even Nagato was found by him under the guidance of Uchiha Madara. After Uchiha Madara's death, he also supported Obito. But with the defection of the 9-tailed Jinchuriki, everything began to change. According to Black Zetsu's observation, this generation of Ashura is the 9-tailed Jinchuriki Uzumaki Naruto. It stands to reason that he would not be so impulsive, which is not in line with Asura's character. Moreover, according to his investigation, this generation of Indra is also wrong. The fight between Indra and Asura is fate. But how can the relationship between Indra and Asura be so harmonious now? There is something wrong with Ashura and Indra this time. So Black Zetsu has been investigating after Naruto defected, and he found out that Naruto actually appeared in the Umbrella Organization. Black Zetsu has been in the ninja world for so long, so he naturally knows the existence of the Umbrella Organization, but Black Zetsu's attitude towards Umbrella is the same as most rulers. Black Zetsu is not interested in the red ideology of Umbrella at all, and how can he understand the existence of the red ideology when he is dedicated to saving his mother? Compared with Kagaya's other sons, Black Zetsu's strength is equivalent to the level of an ordinary Jonin. However, he has a strong ability to save his life, and is proficient in yin and yang escape techniques. Ordinary ninjutsu can't kill Black Zetsu at all. Only by using the ability of yin and yang escape techniques can Black Zetsu be killed. At this moment, Black Zetsu is reporting the situation to Obito. Obito, this Umbrella Organization is definitely not simple, why don't you go investigate? What if this organization interferes with our plan? Black Zetsu knows that Obito cares most about the plan. Call me Madara. Obito glanced at him with cold eyes, and the sunny boy image he once was had long disappeared. It is true that he is 3 times stronger when he turns evil, and 7 times weaker when he turns white. In the early stage, Obito was absolutely an unsolvable existence. Then Obito said, "Is this organization really that complicated?" Well, with my detection ability, I can only find out the situation of some of their marginal bases. Their main base is fortified with multiple barriers, even I will be discovered, as if it is to prevent me. Black Zetsu said slowly, even he was a little puzzled. With his hiding ability, it should be impossible for the barrier to discover him, but the barrier of the umbrella seemed to be set up for him. The Umbrella Organization has now moved to the land of snow. The Umbrella Organization was previously in the land of waves. After being discovered by Kakuzu, the organization moved its base as it grew. Now Black Zetsu has actually found the location of the core base. This is enough to prove Black Zetsu's ability. Chapter 171. Obito frowned. According to previous information, this organization has cage-level members. He didn't want to provoke them for the time being, fearing that they would attract attention. However, after hearing what Black Zetsu said, Obito changed his mind. There must be no mistakes in the plan. I know, you step back. After giving the information he found to Obito, Black Zetsu walked out of the black hole. Having taken the bait, Black Zetsu showed his jagged teeth and raised the corners of his mouth. Inside the cave, the lights flickered, making Obito's shadow look fierce and threatening. A gloomy voice slowly came out from the cave. Lin, I will definitely create a world with you. I will kill anyone who tries to sabotage us. The cold murderous intent filled the cave. Ellipsis. In the umbrella base, after the joy of family reunion, Naruto began to ask Minato Namikaze to learn Flying Thunder God. Flying Thunder God is one of the great skills of the Hokage. How could Naruto not be interested? Naruto, if you want to learn Flying Thunder God, you must have the talent of spatial perception. The first step is to perceive the existence of space. Perceiving space is the most basic step in learning Flying Thunder God. This is not a talent that everyone has, so this is why he is the only one in Konoha who can fully control it now. Even his guards at the time only needed 4 people to launch Flying Thunder God. They had a little talent, but it was not enough. Listening to Minato Namikaze's explanation of Flying Thunder God, Naruto felt that this was a vast ninjutsu. As expected of a master of forbidden techniques, Naruto secretly admired in his heart. However, he also admired Namikaze Minato's talent even more. He was able to innovate on Flying Thunder God and developed Flying Thunder God's second stage, surpassing the second-generation developer in the use of Flying Thunder God. Naruto sighed. His father died early, otherwise he would probably be able to master fairy techniques in the future, and with Flying Thunder God, he would definitely be a super shadow level existence. Only after sensing the existence of space can you engrave the Flying Thunder God mark. If you can't even sense space, how can you engrave the Flying Thunder God mark? Ellipsis quote. Namikaze Minato has a deep understanding of space, and Naruto seems to have realized something after listening to him. Open black lens bracket Flying Thunder God understanding +3. Close black lens bracket. Naruto's mouth curled up. He seemed to understand Flying Thunder God better. Next, you need to radiate your spirit to sense the existence of space. Namikaze Minato continued. After saying a lot, Namikaze Minato asked Naruto to start practicing Flying Thunder God. An hour later, seeing Naruto with his eyes closed and his brows slightly frowned, he comforted him. Don't worry, I took a whole day to comprehend it. It seemed comforting, but you could also hear the pride in his tone. If you still haven't sensed the existence of space after 10 days, it means you don't have a talent for space, and you can't learn Flying Thunder God. Minato explained. Flying Thunder God usually senses the mark of space within 3 days, and can be called a genius. Minato only took less than a day, so Minato was naturally a little proud. Perceiving space is the first step, and the second step is to condense your own space runes and imprint them on objects. This step is even more difficult and cannot be completed without sufficient talent. After that, it is space travel. Space travel may cause dizziness, but this can be overcome. The most important thing is a person's nerve reaction speed. The reason why Flying Thunder God flourished in the hands of Minato Namikaze is mainly because his nerve reaction speed is faster than that of ordinary people. He can react in a very short time and adapt to the surrounding environment. This is a talent that belongs only to him. It doesn't look good, but in fact, during battle, this talent can often make you one step faster than others, and killing people is just a blink of an eye. In Naruto, Minato Namikaze's talent is also top-notch. Suddenly, Minato saw Naruto open his eyes. He said, Naruto, don't worry, take your time, it's normal that you can't sense the space now. It's okay to fail, try a few more times and you can do it. Who said I failed? Naruto raised his lips. Open black lens bracket spatial perception +5. Spatial perception +4. Naruto felt that although he had a talent for spatial perception, it was probably not as strong as Minato Namikaze's. But he had a cheat. When the ability of God's way of rewarding hard work was activated, he felt that the world seemed to have changed. Space seemed to become tangible, and the invisible space seemed to have become tangible. This was actually an illusion, but it was indeed a manifestation of the perception of space. What? You can already sense the existence of space. Minato was amazed. How long has it been? It seems like only an hour. How much faster than he was at the beginning? Tell me what it feels like. Minato was eager to know the answer. Naruto told him everything he felt. This made Minato believe that Naruto did feel the existence of space. Considering Naruto's current strength, it seems that it is not strange to have such a monstrous talent. Your talent is incredible, Minato exclaimed. Just when Minato wanted to lead Naruto to the next step of training, an alarm suddenly sounded in the distance. Naruto stood up and looked up at the tower in the distance, which was the center of the barrier control. The alarm sounded at this moment, indicating that someone broke in. Naruto didn't plan to practice anymore. It seemed that the organization was discovered after all. Who was it? The 5 Great Nations? Or the Akatsuki organization, or Black Zetsu? The previous Black Zetsu was very careful and did not trigger the alarm of the barrier. Ellipsis. At this moment in the base, Obito cursed inwardly. He had just used Kamui to penetrate space and entered the heart of the umbrella, but he didn't expect to be discovered. Damn, so insidious, they actually set up so many barriers. Obito, wearing a mask, had a gloomy face. There were several kinds of barriers for the umbrella, and he only recognized one. He didn't understand the others. Come on, someone is invading. The people at the core base of the umbrella are all elites. Naruto is prepared for danger in times of peace, and has organized several simulated invasions. Even under the dragnet, he did not panic. The members of the Hyuga clan acted quickly, and even Neji was alarmed. Looking with his white eyes, Obito's position was soon discovered. A feeling of being spied unrose in Obito's heart, and he remembered the intelligence of Black Zetsu. The Hyuga clan. Obito also heard the alarm. He planned to retreat immediately. He wanted to secretly investigate the situation, but now he was discovered. Even if the strength of this base is not strong, well, it's impossible to think about it. A cage-level strongman, the 9 Tails Jinchuriki. All of them should be here. Quick, the invaders are here. Fire style, great fire extinguishment. A powerful fire style rose up and then blocked it. Hearing this name, Obito frowned. Has the Uchiha family's ninjutsu been spread out? At this time, a group of people also surrounded him, wearing chakra armor. Who are you? The leader asked, but Obito ignored him and attacked directly, jumping onto the roof of the building. Fire style, storm dance. Faced with the powerful fire style, no one dared to be careless. 2 water styles extinguished it. Shurikens flew all over the sky. A sound of breaking through the air was heard, and Obito dodged it with his hollow formation. What kind of power is this? Everyone was shocked. Just as Obito was about to kill him, he saw a man wearing chakra armor rushing towards him. The most important thing was not this, but the Scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan in that man's eyes. Why would someone from the family appear here, or did this person desecrate the family's bloodline limit? Chapter 172. The masked man who was transformed by Obito had a gloomy face at the moment, and the disfigured face under the mask was extremely ugly. The people of Umbrella were surprised at Obito's magical ability, and he was also surprised at the strength of these people. What is that strange armor? Why is it so strong? With so many high-quality ninjas, I'm afraid they can be compared to the 5 major countries. Obito jumped between the tall buildings, and the people of Umbrella also had ugly faces. They used ninjutsu to force Obito to the open space one after another. Umbrella can produce so many elites, mainly thanks to Naruto's policies and the recruitment of talents from the entire ninja world. With sufficient ninjutsu and video teaching, the birth of talents is like wholesale. Because of the short time, except for Shisui and others, no one who can stand on his own has appeared, but the help brought by the chakra armor is huge. Many people who are not strong enough to be a Jonin can also be equivalent to a Jonin with the help of chakra armor. The Jonin is the core combat power of a country and a ninja village. Is this the guy? How dare he invade the Umbrella base? How did he get in? Zabuza appeared in front of everyone. He knew how strong the base's defense was. It was definitely stronger than the 5 major countries. This was a barrier that Naruto easily built. Could there be a spy? Zabuza didn't want to believe this answer. Zabuza's strength is increasing day by day. Compared with the battle with silica gel, his strength has improved a lot. What is your purpose here? Are you from Akatsuki? Zabuza asked loudly. He had already judged the other party's origin from Obito's clothes. Zabuza's eyes flashed with disdain. The black background and red clouds, the clothes of Akatsuki and even some strong men had been known to them for a long time, but under Naruto's arrangement, they temporarily avoided the edge, but it did not mean that they were so easy to bully. Obito ignored Zabuza, but looked at the existence of those who had 3 Magatama. Those people were all wearing masks, probably to prevent their identities from being exposed. At this moment, the words of Black Zetsu emerged in his mind. This organization may have an impact on the plan. Secretly gathered members of the Uchiha clan, and even unknown ninja tools, a very dense defense barrier. Now it has gathered the Nine Tails Jinchuriki and members of the Hyuga branch. In Obito's mind, he has secretly imagined a huge and ambitious organization, and these Uchiha members are very likely the people who disappeared in the war. After all, in a war, there are always a few people whose identities cannot be identified. Zabuza didn't know how much Obito had imagined, but the anger in his heart had filled his chest. Recently, he has been in charge of the alert, and the enemy actually appeared at their doorstep. This is intolerable. He can already imagine that he will be scolded during the meeting. But the most important thing at the moment is to capture this person. Capture this man in front of you. Zabuza ordered while gritting his teeth. The Umbrella members standing by were also extremely angry, especially the patrol personnel. No matter where this enemy came from, it was their fault after all. More than a dozen ninjas stood in a row, and the powerful fire escape almost formed a sea of fire. The powerful fire escape passed through Obito's body, as if Obito was just a projection. In fact, it was almost the same to say that it was a projection. Obito's body had already used the virtualization to come to the Kamui space at this moment. The Obito seen by the outside world was actually a space projection. Fire escape is useless, use the Kirin formation. Zabuza did not make a move, but waved his hand to command. Another team of ninjas appeared, spewing water escape from their mouths. The water escape and fire escape cancelled out and hot smoke rose up. Obito was a little dizzy at this scene. What was going on? Even the stupidest person would not command like this. He secretly raised his vigilance. This might be the opponent's strategy. The mist rose and gradually floated to the sky. At this moment, another team of ninjas stood up, with only 3 seals in their hands. Lightning release, Kirin array. Everyone's shouting filled the sky, and a bad premonition came to his mind. At the same time, he also felt unhappy because the name Kirin reminded him of Kilin. He couldn't help but be filled with murderous intent. The sky gradually became dark, and Obito suddenly looked into the clouds, and a sense of threat appeared in the clouds. What's going on? A combination of ninjutsu, the power of fire escape and water escape. I see. Although Obito was a laggard, he also learned a lot under the guidance of Uchiha Madara. Even if he didn't see through this ninjutsu, he roughly understood what effect it could achieve. A giant beast composed of thunder and lightning poked its head out from the clouds. This is the power of natural disasters. Thunder and lightning surged. This is a ninjutsu that is more powerful than the one used by Sasuke. How can the power of one person be comparable to the power of everyone? This is Naruto's wisdom. Naruto did not have the idea of keeping things to himself. On the contrary, in order to improve the combat effectiveness of everyone, Naruto tried every means. Kirin's ninjutsu was used by Naruto. It may be difficult for one person to learn, but a group of people can disperse Kirin's control of chakra, which is equivalent to one person controlling a part. At the same time, they can provide a huge amount of chakra to enhance the power of ninjutsu. Zabuza looked up at the ninjutsu with destructive power in the sky. This ninjutsu was definitely S rank. Even if he was hit by it, he would be either dead or disabled. The thunder scattered on the ground, causing a small explosion. Although the power was not great, the overall power it brought was different. The huge Kirin, under the control of the previous team, hit Obito hard. Obito took a breath of cold air, and then his whole body became virtual. He didn't want to use his body to test the power of this ninjutsu. Zabuza frowned. Is it the Mangekyo Sharingan? Is this his pupil technique? Zabuza often greeted Shisui and others, and he also knew the ability of the Mangekyo. Each pair of Mangekyo has its own unique ability, but it is not unsolvable. Just like Izumi, as long as the number of attacks is large enough, Izumi's Mangekyo ability will be very weak, because it takes time to eliminate the target. Using the lightning net, I don't believe he can use the power of the Mangekyo forever. Zabuza gritted his teeth and said loudly. Hearing Zabuza's words, Kirin's mouth suddenly spit out rays, like infrared rays penetrating Obito's shadow, forming a large net, covering the surroundings layer by layer. Obito's face was ugly. Such a powerful ninjutsu only lasted for 5 minutes, and he had to show up to refresh the CD, but the surroundings were covered by the thumb-thick lightning escape. He was afraid that he would be cut into pieces as soon as he showed up. He knew that he could leave. Although he did not achieve his goal today, he had obtained a lot of information. The powerful ninjutsu and unknown ambitions did not know whether they would affect the Moon Eye project. Spiral ripples appeared, and Obito's voice came. We will meet again in the end. After that, Obito disappeared in front of everyone. In this situation, Zabuza also breathed a sigh of relief. Space-type pupil technique. This answer is better than the appearance of traitors, which he could not accept. Chapter 173. In the meeting room. Shisui's eyes flickered. His youthful appearance had long since disappeared, and now he had become a qualified leader. Uchiha family. The index finger tapped lightly on the water. The crisp sound was so clear in the small room. Naruto was not in the organization for the time being. He went to another large base, and Sasuke went with Naruto. Neji and others were in this base, but Neji's current qualifications did not qualify him to attend this meeting. Shisui took a quick look and then said, Zabuza, tell me about the situation this time. Zabuza stood up in shame and said, the visitor is from Akatsuki, and a member of the Uchiha family, with a Mangekyo Sharingan. When he heard the word Mangekyo, Shisui's pupils changed involuntarily, but he still did not interrupt Zabuza's statement. His kaleidoscope ability should be of the spatial type, which is why he can pass through layers of barriers and reach our hinterland. 2 people died and the economic losses amounted to millions of taels. I think this is a provocation from Akatsuki to us, in order to test our strength. Should we? Zabuza made a slashing motion with both hands towards his throat. Don't act rashly for now. Naruto said that Akatsuki is made up of a group of S-level rebel ninjas. If we start a war easily, it will only benefit the 5 major countries. Shisui said slowly, with a steady tone, but then changed his tone. However, we can't just let it go when Akatsuki behaves like this. Shisui's 3 Magatama suddenly opened, and an invisible aura spread from Shisui. Let's go to Izumi. We must do something, otherwise do you think we are a soft persimmon that can be taken advantage of at will? Shisui said coldly, but soon another voice came. Notify Naruto first. Naruto should know Akatsuki very well. The Umbrella organization was immersed in development, and Naruto did not tell Shisui too much about the Akatsuki organization. But the only information made Shisui dare not underestimate the Akatsuki organization. The core members are all composed of S-level rebel ninjas, and each of them is at the level of Kage. Such strength is amazing. Well, let's talk about the recent development of the organization. You come and report on the situation you were responsible for. Uchiha Yu heard what Shisui said, and immediately stood up and began to talk. Generally speaking, there are not many changes, and it is in a steady development. Next is Quan. Quan is responsible for intelligence and assassination. Generally speaking, Quan is responsible for the combat part, Zabuza is responsible for construction, and Shisui is in charge of the overall situation. Ellipsis. Naruto also received the news from Shisui. Naruto sneered. Obito, I haven't come to you yet, but you've already shown up at my doorstep. Naruto's eyes flashed with ferocity. He didn't like Obito at all. Although Obito seemed to be doing this for Rin, his heart had long been twisted, and he had become a pawn of Black Zetsu. He was no longer the same Obito, and the regret shown in the original book made Naruto even more disdainful. The plan collapsed, and the seemingly real dream was shattered. How could regret offset the sins he had committed? He and Naruto had a grudge of killing their father and mother. If it weren't for the fact that Akatsuki became the responsible party in public, so that the organization could develop secretly, Naruto would have taken action against Obito long ago. He even poached some talents from Akatsuki. Now that the organization it has begun to show its head, so let the Akatsuki organization attract the attention of the 5 major countries. If I am not mistaken, Obito's arrival this time may be the idea of Black Zetsu, the old man who has been hiding for 1,000 years. But now is not the time to deal with Obito. Naruto edited a text message to Shisui, and then turned his attention to the tall building in front of him. Seeing this building in the deep mountains and old forests, Naruto's heart couldn't help but get hot. Because there is something here that can change the situation. In front of Naruto, steel and mechanization looked particularly spectacular. In front of Naruto stood a man wearing a pair of glasses, reporting the situation to Naruto. Lord Naruto, we now have 200,000 ordinary guns and only 10,000 chakra guns. There are 1,000 sets of chakra armor. In addition, the chakra cannon is about to be completed. That's right, it's guns. Based on the theories and some suggestions of Naruto's previous life, these scientists who lack imagination are overjoyed. With the current scientific development foundation, guns can be easily manufactured. And here is the most important link for Naruto, the military factory of Umbrella. This military factory hollowed out the entire mountain. Most of the bases are built underground, and the barriers and the like are definitely not inferior to the base of the Snow Country. The so-called ordinary firearms are actually not for ninjas, but for some ordinary people of Umbrella. The huge Umbrella members cannot afford the training of everyone. And not all of them in the ninja world. Everyone has chakra talent and martial arts talent, and firearms are enough to give some ordinary people the power of genin. And these firearms are where Naruto's power comes from to fight against the entire ninja world. These are not enough. Naruto also organized the development of chakra firearms. Chakra firearms, as the name implies, use chakra, which is not only more powerful, but also quieter, and has much less recoil. These chakra firearms are for those chunins, and only chunins can afford to use chakra firearms. Genins do not have much chakra, so it is more cost-effective to use ordinary firearms. The lethality of firearms has exceeded the power of ordinary genins using kunai throwing. Although the quantity cannot be compared, but the distance is greatly increased. Ordinary firearms can basically only deal with genin. Genin's senses are already very sensitive. Even if the speed of the bullet is very fast, some ninjas can capture the sound of breaking through the air and dodge the attack with sensitive intuition. Chunin can easily dodge the attack of ordinary firearms, but it does not mean that ordinary firearms cannot kill Chunin. Sneak attacks are still very likely. Chakra firearms can cause great lethality to ordinary Chunin. Weapons are chakra-based, which is the development suitable for this world. It is even simpler. As long as a chakra storage device and a chakra shaping device are made, a gun that looks very high-tech can be. The firearms were made. Unfortunately, we have only just figured out the technology of the chakra cannon. The chakra cannon was used by the Hidden Cloud Village in the original work, and it was so powerful that it could even hit the moon. Although the moon in this world was made by the Six Paths Sage and is very close to the ninja world, it can be seen how powerful the chakra cannon is. The chakra cannon that Umbrella is researching now has not reached the level of the hidden cloud village in the original work. Although it is not powerful enough, it has reached the means of attack of a cage-level strongman. It can be called a battlefield weapon, but because the material is precious, it is difficult to manufacture in large quantities. The chakra gathering device requires chakra metal materials. Chapter 174. Tsunade, have you decided? Naruto's voice came out of the microphone. Tsunade looked at the small phone at hand, and then looked at the surrounding environment. The changes that had not happened in 1,000 years might have begun, but Tsunade was still very receptive to new things. She also knew that Naruto was like a windmill, predicting the development of the times. The wind has blown in the ninja world, and perhaps she can also become that gust of wind, blowing across the ninja world. A resolute voice came out of her mouth. Well, I've decided. I want to help you, so let's start by accepting Konoha. Tsunade didn't know why she had this idea. Konoha was established by her great-grandfather, and Tsunade had a deep affection for it, but the current Konoha is probably not the Konoha in her great-grandfather's heart. Jiraiya's words did have a little impact on Tsunade after all, but what Jiraiya didn't expect was that Tsunade was more resolute than he thought. Tsunade actually wanted to drag the entire Konoha into the chariot of the umbrella. Tsunade hung up the phone and stared at the black screen of her phone in a trance. After an unknown amount of time, Tsunade's eyes were full of light, and then she strode out of the hospital gate. Tsunade rushed to the place where she had agreed to meet with Jiraiya. In a tavern, Tsunade met Jiraiya. The weathered Jiraiya was no longer the same as before. The few wrinkles on his face added some traces of time to Jiraiya. Tsunade was still the same as before, as if the years had never left traces on Tsunade, but the deep look in her eyes was still branded with the gears of time. Tsunade, long time no see. Jiraiya pretended to want to hug her, and thought he would be beaten by Tsunade, but he didn't expect Tsunade to sit down calmly, which surprised Jiraiya. Stop talking nonsense and tell me something. Tsunade poured herself a glass of wine, then looked at Jiraiya and smiled. Tsunade, it seems that you have decided to face life again. Jiraiya's words were meaningful, and then he took a sip from the wine glass and continued. The second Hokage asked me to find you as the new Hokage, so eagerly, the duration of the impure world reincarnation must be limited. Jiraiya is also a sober person, and he also knows that a technique is not invincible, so there must be some limitations to the impure world reincarnation. The second generation has probably been paving the way for you during this period. I am not interested in the position of Hokage, and you are more suitable for Konoha than me. Jiraiya looked at the wine glass. His face was reflected in the wine, clearly visible. I guess you were asked to be the Hokage, but you didn't want to, so you let me take the blame, right? Tsunade scolded with a smile. No, you are more suitable to be the Hokage than me. Only you can shock those people in the village. Jiraiya said with emotion. He and Tsunade haven't sat down and talked like this for a long time. Tisk, you don't want to be Hokage recently, and you make so many excuses. What's so good about Hokage that so many people are flocking to it? Tsunade was naturally referring to the third Hokage, Danzo, the so-called Konoha high-level officials, etc. Jiraiya was silent, filled his glass, turned his head and looked out the window. Tsunade, how long has it been since we last had such a quiet conversation? Do you remember when we were little? I performed poorly, but you and Orochimaru were so dazzling. You guys always learn the ninjutsu taught by the teacher first, but there is no way he can learn it. Orochimaru is not like this now. When selecting the Hokage, I knew that Minato's influence was not enough to become the Hokage. In the end, the third generation appointed Minato as the person in charge of the battlefield. I knew that the teacher wanted Minato to become the Hokage, and Minato did have this ability. But he ultimately failed Orochimaru. You say, If Minato had not become Hokage and Orochimaru had become Hokage, Orochimaru would not have left, Minato would still be alive, and Naruto would not have defected. As he spoke, tears flashed in Jiraiya's eyes. Jiraiya, when did you become so hypocritical? There is no if. Although Tsunade said this, her eyes were also full of tears. I guess she resonated with Jiraiya. Jiraiya, Orochimaru won't come back, he is no longer the same. Tsunade shook her head and drank the wine in the glass in one gulp. Jiraiya smiled bitterly and said, yeah, it's hard to go back to the past. Tsunade heard what Jiraiya said, especially that it was difficult, not impossible, and she did not expose Jiraiya. Jiraiya was still holding on to an almost impossible hope in his heart. Tsunade suddenly remembered Naruto's words, maybe Jiraiya's idea could come true. Maybe, we can all be reunited with our families. Ha ha ha, drink, why think so much, it seems that I am getting old, and I have become so sentimental. Jiraiya poured himself a large glass of wine and laughed. Let's talk about Konoha. Well, Konoha now has the second generation. I guess after you go there, the second generation should have cleared all the obstacles for you to take over as Hokage. Jiraiya naturally had no doubts about the second generation's methods. Tsunade also nodded, and the windmill began to spin from Konoha. After all, she had already recognized Naruto and the existence of the Umbrella Organization, so she might as well give it a hand. Not only did Naruto's words move her, but she also wanted to see the world that her great-grandfather expected. According to Naruto, the future world should be very exciting. Although Tsunade hadn't seen the second generation's skills for a long time, she still had an impression of the second generation's swift and decisive actions. What the two didn't know yet was that a new round of conspiracy was waiting for Tsunade. Konoha. Inside the root base, a figure appeared in front of Danzo. Danzo looked at the creature in front of him with surprise. It didn't look like a human being. It was completely black. I don't know what kind of creature it is. Is it a human? It doesn't look like one. Could it be created by Orochimaru? Elder Danzo, have you made up your mind? Do you want to cooperate with me? The dark figure was Black Zetsu. Naruto's abnormality made him cautious. This was the closest to success. For this reason, he would never let any accidents happen to his plan. Are you the representative sent by Orochimaru? Danzo said in a gloomy voice, because this seemingly strange guy in front of him actually possessed Hashirama's cells. Even more perfect than what Orochimaru had researched. Orochimaru. Orochimaru was once a member of our organization. Black Zetsu pulled up the flag of Akatsuki, because Black Zetsu knew that Danzo knew about the existence of Akatsuki. Danzo's pupils shrank slightly, and a look of fear flashed in his eyes. Of course Danzo knew about Akatsuki, and now Itachi was still working as a spy in Akatsuki. Hearing that Orochimaru was once a member of the organization, Danzo was even more afraid of Akatsuki. Of course he knew what Orochimaru was like. You know, even when he was cooperating with Orochimaru, he had to be wary of Orochimaru. Orochimaru was definitely a poisonous snake. Chapter 175. Black Zetsu left, and Danzo looked at the test tube in his hand, his eyes lost in thought. He had talked to this guy several times in the past few days. Danzo looked at the test tube in his hand, which contained Hashirama's cells. Something called ambition rose in his heart. The ambition that had been suppressed began to take root again, and even grew stronger and surpassed before. In the whole secret room, Danzo murmured, "Teacher, you did this first, so don't blame me." Ellipsis. Tsunade and Jiraiya set off on their journey. Tsunade has handed over the full responsibility of the hospital to Shizune. In addition, Karen also began to follow Shizune to learn further medical ninjutsu. Karen's talent in medical treatment is indeed very good. The Uzumaki clan is born with huge chakra and innate talent, which really makes Shizune cry. However, Shizune has a clear position for herself. Although she envies Karen's talent, she also feels more distressed for Karen. Karen was used as a medical kit by the ignorant ninjas of the Kusagakur village. It's a waste of talent. Karen is very happy with her current life. Compared with the hell-like Kusagakur village, her current life is already a paradise. Not only can she eat enough every day, but she can also learn what she is interested in. Although sometimes very tired, she has gained a lot. For all this, Karen is very grateful to Naruto, especially Naruto's identity as a member of the Uzumaki clan. This makes Karen feel that Naruto is like her brother, trustworthy and reliable. In order to help Naruto, Karen has been working very hard during this period, and even used her shadow clone to learn medical ninjutsu. As a result of such hard study, within a few months, Karen was able to start learning palm senjutsu. Senior Sister Shizune, can I start learning the palm immortal art now? Karen was wearing a white coat, and her eyes were eager but also a little tired, but Shizune saw it all. She felt even more distressed for this girl with a tragic fate, which made Shizune think of the book Scarlet Thought. Perhaps, umbrella is a huge umbrella for these people with tragic fates. Shizune's understanding of Scarlet Thought is not as good as Tsunade's, but she also has her own understanding. There are thousands of people with thousands of thoughts, and umbrella is like giving hope to those with bad fates like them. If she hadn't met Lady Tsunade, maybe her ending would not be so good. Of course, but go back and have a good rest tonight. I will teach you how to practice the palm immortal technique tomorrow. Jingyan didn't want Xianglin to be tired anymore. In addition, it was necessary to keep her spirits up when practicing the palm immortal technique. If she was not focused, her practice might be ineffective. Ellipsis. In Konoha village, Tobirama was looking through the information of Konoha over the years. An invisible anger rose from his heart. At this moment, he wished he could pull the monkey out of the grave and beat him up again. The Konoha before him was able to fight 4 people alone and win. But now, the Konoha, the hidden cloud village dared to come and provoke them, and even forced the village to almost hand over the head of the Hyuga clan. Sarutobi Hirazen's move undoubtedly increased the contempt of other ninja villages, who believed that Konoha had declined. Especially when he saw that Hatake Sakumo actually committed suicide, the second generation couldn't believe that such a talent actually committed suicide because of a mission. Damn Danzo and Monkey, what on earth did you do? Senju Tobirama couldn't believe it. Is this something his disciple could do? Is Monkey still the same monkey? When Tobirama saw the Nine Tails Rebellion, the records were not clear at all, but the final result was that the 4th generation died in battle. Especially before he knew some information about the 4th generation, he emerged before the 3rd war and inherited his own flying thunder god. What a monkey! He actually let the young 4th Hokage perform the demonic Fujin. Did he learn shit about the will of fire? Tobirama angrily threw the file to the ground. At this time, a figure appeared beside Tobirama. Second Hokage, Danzo-sama asked you to come over. He said he has something important to discuss. Danzo, what a big deal, he actually wants me to go meet him. The second generation looked at the root ninja in front of him with cold eyes. Most of these root ninjas had their minds wiped out. Danzo's orders might be more effective than his orders as the Hokage. Lead the way. Tobirama waved his sleeves. He wanted to see what this disciple was up to. Ellipsis. At this moment, Tsunade and Jiraiya have already arrived at the gate. Tsunade looked at the slightly changed Konoha with some emotion, but suddenly found that a huge explosion occurred in the distance. The two suddenly changed their faces and hurried to the explosion site. At this moment in the root base, Senju Tobirama could never have imagined that his former good disciple would actually attack him. Danzo, do you want to rebel? Tobirama said sternly. He was surrounded by root ninjas and a barrier was formed around him. If he hadn't used the dark walk technique, he would have been sealed by Danzo now. Although the impure world reincarnation is immortal, it has no way to deal with the seal. Teacher, you were the first to be unkind. Only I can lead Konoha to glory. Danzo was close to madness. Hokage had become his obsession. Danzo untied the bandage on his arm, revealing the terrifying Sharingan. Sharingan rotated on it, looking particularly terrifying. Danzo, you! Senju Tobirama was suddenly shocked, and at the same time, a flame of anger surged in his heart. Danzo killed the Uchiha clan, probably just to satisfy his own selfish desires. Teacher, go and keep Hiruzen company. Danzo gave an order, and a group of people surrounded the second generation, holding the sealing scroll in their hands. Seeing this, Tobirama's eyes were full of murderous intent. Water style, he's is coming. The huge water style instantly crushed the base. This was another super large water style of Tobirama. The water style spread, triggering a chain reaction and causing a huge explosion. Danzo's eyes were vicious. If he failed, he would die. Suddenly a voice appeared. Soft fist, 8 trigrams palm. 1,000 hands. Tobirama was directly knocked out. Tobirama's broken body slowly repaired. He looked at the man, and it turned out to be Hinata Hiyashi. Tobirama's eyes showed some surprise. How could he stand with Danzo? Ha ha ha, you never thought that I am the one destined to be the one. Danzo burst into laughter and slowly touched his right eye. This was Shisui's eye. The Hashirama cells sent by the mysterious man could actually shorten the CD of Koto Amatsukami. That's why Danzo came up with such a plan. Since someone is disobedient, let's make him obedient. Danzo, what do you want to do to my second grandfather? A crisp voice came. Suna. Tobirama looked at the figure in the distance. The young and capable Suna in his impression has grown up now. Tsunade, since you are here, let's catch them all in one fell swoop. On the rooftops and streets, dense crowds of ninjas appeared. Danzo actually united with Shimura, Sarutobi, Hyuga and the ninjas of the route to launch an attack on the second generation. Danzo wants to seize power. Chapter 176. Danzo, do you know what you are doing? Jiraiya shouted. He could not believe that Danzo would do such a rebellious thing. Jiraiya looked around and saw that there were already thousands of ninjas around him, and they were still rushing here. The dense crowd made Jiraiya's scalp numb. With so many people, even a cage-level strongman would find it difficult. Jiraiya, stop talking nonsense, kill this shameless villain. Tsunade gnashed her teeth. Danzo actually wanted to seize power and even tried to kill his second grandfather and take over Konoha left by his great-grandfather. Didn't she know who Danzo was? Under Danzo's leadership, Konoha would only go to destruction. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. No need to waste time talking. Just come at me. Danzo's face was gloomy. Ambition had already taken over his body. Now that he had achieved this, there was no need to hide it anymore. He, Danzo, was going to become the Hokage. Danzo, you despicable villain, I really underestimated you. The second generation Senju Tobirama sneered. In this situation, he did not lose his composure, but the anger in his heart was about to fill him up. With Danzo's order, the attack came towards the three people in an overwhelming manner, and even Jiraiya was no exception. Looking at the ninjutsu all over the sky, even Jiraiya began to get angry. Is Danzo crazy about gains and losses? This time, Danzo united the families of their Konoha high-level officials and controlled Hyuga Hiyashi. Their families were enough to gather thousands of ninjas. Jiraiya quickly glanced around. Most of them were from Shimura, Mitomen, Sarutobi, Utane and the Hyuga clan. There were also some brainwashed civilian ninjas. It seems that Shikaku is still smart, and he knows how to protect himself. Jiraiya said secretly. Tsunade has already rushed up. After being exposed to martial arts, Tsunade's lethality is even more amazing. She punched out with great power. Boom! The ninjutsu that attacked Tsunade was directly crushed by Tsunade's fist covered with blood and energy. Tsunade punched down. Several people were directly knocked away. Ah! Puff! Blood splattered in the sky, and a house was flattened directly. The ninja hit by Tsunade was breathing out more than breathing in. Jiraiya took a look and found that it was someone from the Shimura family. Oh, it's okay then. Tsunade, don't be so impulsive. Jiraiya advised. It was agreed that Tsunade would inherit the position of Hokage. How could it become like this? Jiraiya's heart is still in Konoha, and he doesn't want to have a big conflict with Konoha. Only Senju Tobirama could see clearly that Konoha at this moment could no longer accommodate a few people. Danzo actually called on so many people. No matter whether it was inducement or coercion, in the current situation, Danzo was determined to kill them. At this time, a huge fire escape hit Tsunade. There were too many ninjas around, and Tsunade easily destroyed them. Then there was the precise cooperation from the Konoha ninjas. The fire escapes attacked together, and Tsunade just wanted to annihilate them, but a sudden water escape annihilated these fire escapes. It's my second grandfather. Tsunade's eyes lit up and she jumped to the side of Senju Tobirama. Second grandpa, what happened? Tsunade asked impatiently. It is obvious that Danzo has coveted the position of Hokage for a long time, but I didn't expect that he would dare to kill his master. Before he could continue to say the rest, Danzo's vacuum ball came over. The second generation's strength is at the peak. Even with infinite chakra, he gradually fell into the human wave tactics. Between Tsunade's 3 punches and 2 kicks, a vacuum area was formed around her. The surrounding ninjas looked at Tsunade with fear and did not dare to fight with Tsunade in close combat. The ninjas who could use Earth Escape directly controlled the Earth Escape to attack Tsunade remotely. Some smart ninjas have begun to destroy the terrain to hinder Tsunade's attack, which annoyed Tsunade for a while. Super strength, Heaven's Guard kick. Tsunade turned over and kicked directly. In an instant, a huge pit appeared and dozens of people died directly. Tsunade did not hold back at all for these people from the Shimura family. Danzo, do you want Konoha to perish? Tsunade looked up at the figure who was protected by the group and shouted angrily. Without you, Konoha will flourish under my leadership. You are the stumbling block that blocks Konoha's development. Danzo didn't think he was wrong at all. It was others who were wrong. Only when he became Hokage could he lead Konoha to prosperity and even regain the ninja world. In his opinion, Konoha was so powerful because of Hirazen's weakness. When he took control of Konoha and spent some time to master the impure world reincarnation technique, Konoha would be the strongest among the 5 great nations. Ridiculous. It is truly tragic that Konoha fell into your hands. Tsunade shook her head and rushed directly towards Danzo. The root ninjas around Danzo were about to take action when they were stopped by Danzo. Let her come over, Danzo said, and the root ninja beside him stopped trying to stop him. Danzo raised his hand and quickly formed a seal with his hand. Wind style, vacuum great ball. Wind style, wind blade. Tsunade saw this and slightly turned her body to avoid the vacuum ball, but the wind blade that followed almost cut Tsunade's body. Tsunade's body could not withstand the attack of the A-level wind style, wind blade. Wind style is extremely sharp, and as the name suggests, the wind blade condenses into a wind blade with high concentration of chakra, which is extremely lethal. Tsunade looked at the trace of blood on her arm, and a little blood flowed out. Tsunade sneered and looked at Danzo. Haha, I really underestimated you. Then her body tensed, and the next moment, Tsunade had disappeared from the spot, stirring up clouds of dust. The place where she had just stood had turned into a concave pit with a radius of several meters. Danzo's eyes narrowed, but before he could dodge, Tsunade had already arrived beside him. So fast. Danzo had no time to form a seal and could only raise his hand to attack Tsunade. Crack, crack. With 2 cracks, Danzo's hand was directly broken. Tsunade's power was too terrifying. Senju Tobirama used Flying Thunder God to wander around some ordinary ninjas, harvesting a few lives from time to time. But soon, some ninjas figured out how to deal with Senju Tobirama. Danzo was blasted away by Tsunade, and rolled on the ground for a few rounds before stopping. Standing still, Danzo looked at Tsunade with a sinister look. Ellipsis. In the distance, a black head stuck out from the eaves. It was Black Zetsu. Fight, fight, Danzo, the ninja world needs you as a troublemaker. Black Zetsu was very happy. In his career, Danzo could definitely be considered a man with a black heart. Danzo's control of Konoha would make it easier for him to carry out his plan. At this moment, Danzo's face was gloomy, and his eyes were flickering. Now that it has come to this, it's either you or me. Wood release. Grafting technique. Hundreds of wood release javelins were fired directly at Tsunade. Tsunade kept rolling over to dodge them. Although the power of the technique used by Danzo was far different from that used by Obito in the original novel, Tsunade did not dare to resist these attacks. Chapter 177. Tsunade kept rolling over to avoid the attacks of wood release, and soon dodged all the attacks, and a few were easily smashed away. Wood release is not an ordinary ninjutsu, it is powerful, even the defective version of Tsunade dare not underestimate it, after clearing the trees formed by these wood release-like javelins. Tsunade then had time to look at Danzo, her eyes wishing to tear Danzo apart. Danzo, why do you have my great-grandfather's wood release? Tsunade gritted her teeth. Even though she had some guesses in her mind, she still wanted to get the answer from Danzo. Danzo looked at Tsunade with cold eyes and said slowly, haven't you thought about it? Wood release. Thorn killing technique. Trees like vines emerged, trying to bind Tsunade. Tsunade frowned. Danzo really used the bodies of his tribe members to test wood release. How many tribe members did he harm to gain the power of wood release? Tsunade knew that when she was young, there were still many tribe members, and some people wanted to replicate her great-grandfather's legend, but they all ended in failure. Now that Danzo, an outsider, has used it successfully, he must have harmed many tribe members and used her great-grandfather's power. Danzo, you deserve to die. Tsunade smashed all the vines that kept growing around her. Danzo, who was not far away, suddenly felt a sharp pain in his arm. Oh no, Hashirama's cells are backfiring. Danzo thought to himself, oh no. With the help of the Sharingan, he forcibly suppressed the unstable power. HMPH. Come on, everyone. Danzo retreated behind the crowd and commanded the root ninjas to attack Tsunade. This wood release was not enough to trap Tsunade now. But what followed was Danzo's human wave tactics. Those who besieged Tsunade were all Konoha's elite Jonin-level ninjas. Danzo would hide behind them and use dirty tricks from time to time. At this point, Jiraiya had no way to hide anymore and began to step forward to help Tsunade. At this time, several ninjas wearing cat-faced masks stopped Jiraiya. Lord Jiraiya, please don't interfere. Two pairs of hands blocked Jiraiya's way, and Jiraiya's face turned cold. Get out of the way. I'm sorry, Master Jiraiya. In an instant, dozens of ninjas appeared beside Jiraiya. Seeing this scene, Jiraiya sneered, whose Konoha is this? Ninja technique, Jizo needle. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and the long hair behind him directly rolled up the two people in front of him, knocking them away, hitting the wall heavily and fainting. Jiraiya didn't want to completely break up with Konoha, not to mention that Konoha was not Danzo's Konoha alone. There were still some big families in the village who didn't take action. Facing this war, they couldn't leave. If they left, Konoha was doomed to be a river of blood, and it would only benefit other ninja villages. Because of the existence of these big families in Konoha, even Danzo didn't dare to touch them. If they touched them, everyone in the Konoha family would be in danger, and if they touched them, Konoha would only be seriously injured. Danzo wanted to become Hokage, but he didn't want a broken Konoha. As long as Tsunade and others were dealt with, Danzo felt that it would not be a problem to deal with these families. After all, this world speaks with strength. Ellipsis. In Konoha, among the Nara clan, Ino, Shika and Cho have already met. In front of Shikaku, Choji's father, Akamichi Choza, is already looking extremely impatient. Shikaku, are we really not going out? It's so frustrating, are we really going to watch Danzo kill Tsunade? Akamichi Choza had a hot temper and slapped the table. The Ino, Shikaku and Cho clans are of the same blood, but the Nara clan basically controls the right to speak because they are recognized as the think tank clan. Yamanaka Ino's father, Yamanaka Ino, clenched his fist and coughed into his mouth. Chiza, be quiet and listen to what Shikaku says. We can't go this time. Danzo is hiding very deeply. Tsunade will be fine. The second Hokage has Flying Thunder God. Even if he is defeated, he will escape in the end. This coup happened too quickly. I guess you all received Danzo's warning. It seems like there is a big hand pushing this action forward. Shikaku sighed and continued, we can't give up this time. If we support Danzo, our final fate will be miserable. If we support Tsunade and the second generation, then Konoha will be in danger. Other ninja villages will definitely not let go of this opportunity. What I can't understand the most is why the Hyuga clan's patriarch Hyuga Hiyashi would support Danzo. You know, cooperating with Danzo is tantamount to courting disaster. Besides, Danzo is not a qualified Hokage, and he will be finished sooner or later. Shikaku thought that the only thing he could do now was to wait. Bang! Are we going to just wait like this? No, I have to go help Lady Tsunade. Akamichi Choza slammed his fist on the table and stood up suddenly. Sit down, Ding Zuo, you are not a child anymore, why are you still so impulsive? You should know that you still have a family behind you. Yanzhong Haiyi advised. Ding Zuo, rest assured, don't forget that person. Lu Ju spoke again. Ding Zuo, which person? You mean? Yamanaka Inoichi obviously guessed who Shikaku was talking about. You mean Uzumaki Naruto? Yes, that's right, Naruto took Shikamaru away. As the son of the fourth Hokage, he will come back sooner or later. Shikaku said slowly. Haiyi lowered his head in thought, obviously knowing why Shikaku said that. The power displayed by Uzumaki Naruto was simply shocking, and it seemed that he could even control the power of the Nine Tails. And only they knew that Shikamaru was taken away by Naruto. Shikamaru has replied to the letter. After the Konoha collapse plan, Shikamaru was on the list of missing persons and was determined to be dead. If Danzo knew that Shikamaru was in Naruto's hands, I'm afraid I don't know what excuse Danzo would use to embarrass them. Well, according to Shikamaru's nephew, Naruto obviously has great ambitions, and the development of the ninja world is really becoming more and more incomprehensible. Haichi said with emotion. Yes, that kid is really not simple. Shikaku also sighed, and took out something, which turned out to be a pistol. This was sent by Shikamaru. Naruto has never given up on Konoha, and has secretly infiltrated Konoha. Naruto persuaded Shikamaru to put his trust in the umbrella. But Shikamaru could not guarantee that the family would agree. This pistol is a token from Shikamaru to Shikaku. With Shikaku's wisdom, of course he knows what kind of changes this thing will bring to the ninja world. Even things that ordinary people can use, and even more things, make him feel that the world has changed. He is better than his father. Shikamaru sighed. He thought of that young man. He had a good relationship with Minato back then. He thought Konoha could reach the peak under the leadership of that young man, but unfortunately, God is jealous of talented people. Don't worry, Danzo will not last long. We can't be too dazzling. Now is not the time to be exposed. Maybe it's time for us to make a decision. Shikaku took a deep breath and said. This is a major change that has not happened in 1,000 years. If we are still the same as before, we will all be indistinguishable from the crowd when we go back in the future. Shikaku stood up and looked out the window. The wind rustled and slowly blew away the red thought on the table. Shikaku's eyes were deep. With his wisdom, he clearly knew what kind of impact Naruto's thoughts would have on the system of thousands of years on this land. Naruto was not planning the ninja world, but the world. Chapter 178. At this moment, Tsunade's hands are already covered with blood. Hundreds of people have died at Tsunade's hands, and many have died at Senju Tobarama's hands. This is because the two did not let go of their means. After all, these people are also Konoha's people. Even if they intend to kill Danzo, excessive reduction in the number of people will only make Konoha's foundation weaker. The important thing is Danzo. Only by solving Danzo can Konoha usher in better development. Danzo, die for me. Boom. Another blow scattered the people around, and Tsunade looked at Danzo coldly, revealing murderous intent. Danzo, this bastard, actually used human lives to block her. Danzo sneered. Tsunade, you don't have to struggle, now that things have come to this, you just have to surrender, I can promise not to hurt you. Danzo was still a little afraid of Tsunade. Tsunade was the granddaughter of the first and second generations of Hokage. Killing her might cause instability in the people's hearts, and Tsunade was a princess canonized by the daimyo of the Fire Country. If Tsunade could surrender, why not spare her life for the time being? Humph. Danzo, you are probably wishful thinking. Tsunade sneered. She could never have imagined that there would be such a shameless person. Bah, Danzo, I thought you were just a villain, but I didn't expect you to be so naive. Tsunade sneered at Danzo, her chakra kept surging. Want to use up my chakra? Naive. Tsunade, who is now practicing martial arts, is also practicing chakra. Now she is like practicing both martial arts and magic. Her endurance is far beyond the reach of ordinary people. A steady stream of people surrounded Tsunade. Tsunade no longer hid her strength at this time. Her blood and chi appeared, and her speed soared again. Her attacks became more fierce. With the help of blood and chi, Tsunade's attacks became medium and short-range attacks. For a while, no one could attack within 10 meters of Tsunade. Tsunade's power instantly shocked the ninjas who besieged her. What is this? Forbidden technique. At this moment, Jiraiya sensed a powerful force. He turned his head and saw that the source was actually erupting from Tsunade. This. How could Tsunade practice martial arts, and look at this level, it is much more advanced than what he has practiced. Jiraiya has naturally also been exposed to martial arts training, but at Jiraiya's level, the use of chi and blood power is not as convenient and effective as chakra. Jiraiya exclaimed in surprise, could it be that Tsunade was exposed to the umbrella organization earlier than me? Otherwise, this cannot be explained. But now is not the time to explore this. Jiraiya kept knocking down the people around him, most of whom were not killed, but swords have no eyes, and ninjutsu is even more so. Some casualties are inevitable. There were explosions everywhere, and at this moment, the air was filled with smoke, and the pungent smell of blood floated in the air. At this moment, some ordinary villagers in Konoha were already trembling. Several ninjas went door to comfort them. Don't come out, it's okay, with our Lord Danzo here, everyone will be fine. The second generation has come back from the dead, but he is no longer the Hokage we love. Why was he resurrected? It was because he was influenced by the devil and eroded by evil forces. He is no longer the Hokage we are familiar with. Please stay at home quietly and don't go out. Lady Tsunade was also bewitched by the devil outside and has not been back for more than 10 years. She is back now because of the devil's instigation. Tsunade could never have imagined that Danzo would actually send root ninjas to some places that were not attacked to spread rumors. Danzo also knew the role of winning over some people's hearts. After all, playing with public opinion was one of his methods. He did not need everyone to believe it, but as long as a large part of them believed it, then it would be a success. Some ignorant villagers were a little scared when they heard what these ninjas said, but a few people had flickering eyes and remained silent, and no one knew what they were thinking. Some people asked who Danzo was. At this time, these roots would seriously and patiently preach, Lord Danzo is the partner of the third Hokage. He has been hiding behind the scenes to contribute to Konoha. Don't worry, Lord Danzo will protect everyone. Danzo not only wanted to eradicate the second Hokage and Tsunade, but also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to step to the forefront completely. Ellipsis. On the battlefield, Tobirama Senju was seized by a ninja and a dark sealing rune climbed up his back. Not good. Tobirama said secretly, took out the detonating tag that he didn't know which ninja he got, and started to light it directly, and stuck the detonating tag on his body. Bang, bang, bang. A few explosions sounded, and the body of Senju Tobarama's impure world reincarnation was directly blown up. The seal naturally didn't work. It's not that Tobarama hadn't thought of using the trick of the multiplication detonating tag, but this would also cover Tsunade. Senju Tobarama looked at Tsunade in the distance. At this moment, Tsunade was like being trapped in a quagmire. If this goes on, Tsunade will be dragged to death sooner or later. At that time, the third Raikage, who could wrestle with the 8 tails, fell under the human wave tactics, not to mention that Tsunade is not as strong as the third Raikage now, and is still restrained. Even Senju Tobarama's strength is not at its peak. Moreover, most of these ninjas know the intelligence of the two people, that is, Tsunade is a little different, and there are many elite ninjas among them, so Tsunade gradually feels a little weak. The situation of Senju Tobarama was gradually understood by people, and the means of targeting became more and more elusive for a while. No, we can't go on like this, we must send Tsunade away. Tobarama thought quickly, and finally came up with only one way, that is to use his immature space-time barrier to send Tsunade away. Tsunade is feeling more and more exhausted in the face of so many ninjutsu at this moment. In fact, medical ninja is her job. Facing so many ninjas, and some of them are often shooting kunai from behind, Tsunade is getting more and more headache. Some minor injuries began to appear on her body. Tsunade frowned, and her fair and delicate face was stained with some blood. Is she going to use the Yin Seal? The Yin Seal is Tsunade's trump card, which can release Tsunade's stored chakra. At the same time, it is also Tsunade's secret technique to maintain her youthful beauty. Using the Yin Seal means that Tsunade is starting to fight for her life. Jiraiya came to Tsunade's side at this moment, helped Tsunade block a few thousand needles, and supported Tsunade. Tsunade, are you okay? At this time, the voice of Senju Tobarama sounded, Tsunade, come to me. Jiraiya's eyes lit up, and he jumped to the side of Senju Tobarama with Tsunade. Senju Tobarama looked at Jiraiya and said, please take good care of Tsunade for me. Then the second generation secretly chuckled, space-time barrier. This trick, even he had not perfected it at the beginning, until the fourth generation completely perfected it. Now he can only send Tsunade out. As for where to send her, it all depends on fate. The farther the distance, the more chakra is consumed. But now, what he lacks the least is chakra. A force of space enveloped the two of them, and in an instant, they disappeared from the spot. Chapter 179. When Danzo saw this scene, he had a bad feeling in his heart and shouted, separate them. But it was too late. Tsunade and Jiraiya had already disappeared from his sight. Damn it. Danzo's eyes were fierce, his face was full of resentment, but he was helpless, and finally he could only focus on the second generation of Senju Tobarama. Come on, everyone. He knew that as long as he dealt with Senju Tobarama, even if Tsunade escaped, his goal this time would be achieved. The surroundings were filled with smoke and dust, and there were charred and broken walls everywhere. The Hokage building had been completely destroyed, and only a part of the place where the barrier was still intact. After the death of the third generation, the Book of Seals had been moved to the root by Danzo, and the entire Hokage building was only symbolic. More and more people began to surround Senju Tobarama. Facing so many people, Senju Tobarama still showed his super high combat awareness at this moment. Corpses lay at his feet. Danzo narrowed his eyes and let the root ninja launch a death charge. Finally, after waiting for an unknown amount of time, Danzo moved, and took advantage of the gap when the second generation was resisting other people's ninjutsu to launch a direct attack. The powerful wind blade directly cut the body of Senju Tobarama, and taking advantage of the extremely short time for the impure world reincarnation to repair, Danzo directly launched a seal. However, the hasty seal could not completely seal the second generation. Danzo waved his hand and asked some professional ninjas to start sealing Senju Tobarama again. In the end, Senju Tobarama did not resist but just looked at Danzo with cold eyes. The cold and indifferent eyes without a trace of emotion scared Danzo. He jumped, and then the last eye was completely sealed. After sealing the Senju Tobarama, Danzo suppressed his excitement and led everyone to clean up the battlefield. Although more than 1,000 people died, this operation was a success. As long as it could help him ascend to the position of Hokage, the death of these people was very necessary. Now, he is going to receive the fruits of his victory. The smoke slowly dissipated, and the darkness and collapsed buildings did not affect Danzo's mood at the moment. After leaving some people to clean up the scene, Danzo turned and left. The battle ended abruptly. At this moment, not far away, Kakashi looked at Rue in the dark. Seeing the scene today, he was filled with emotion. He did not participate in the siege, nor did Might Guy. Kakashi looked at the smoke and dust drifting in the distance. His nose moved, there was a slight smell of blood, and it seemed to be mixed with something else, like the smell of decay. Kakashi just watched Danzo leave coldly. Where did the beautiful Konoha go? Kakashi seemed to see an abyss, and Konoha was walking towards the abyss with a smell of decay. This feeling deeply suppressed Kakashi's heart. He thought of Naruto and his father who dedicated his life to Konoha. Suddenly, Kakashi sneered and turned away. Ellipsis. Tsunade and Jiraiya were teleported out. Tsunade was trembling slightly, and her beautiful eyes exuded anger. Danzo, I will kill him sooner or later. Tsunade gritted her teeth and looked at the surrounding scene. There were tall trees and a pleasant climate. Occasionally, birds could be heard singing and cicadas chirping in the forest. Such tall trees were only found in the land of fire. Obviously, they were still in the land of fire. It looked like this was a forest, but they didn't know where it was now. Tsunade punched the tall tree, and the tree fell down with a bang. Many flying birds were startled, adding a bit of liveliness to this quiet forest. I wonder how my second grandfather is doing now. Tsunade showed a worried look. Tsunade, you don't have to worry. The second Hokage is now immortal. Danzo can only use the sealing method to deal with the second Hokage. Besides, the second generation has already died once, hasn't he? When the time for the impure world reincarnation is over and we find Orochimaru, you can still meet the second generation. Jiraiya analyzed calmly, and quickly calmed Tsunade down. They both knew that the impure world reincarnation came from Orochimaru, but where to find Orochimaru? Tsunade spoke slowly. Let's not disturb the second grandpa for the time being, but Danzo, I will never let him go. Tsunade clenched her fists immediately. At this time, Jiraiya remembered the method Tsunade had used before. He couldn't help but ask curiously, Tsunade, when did you get the method of martial arts practice? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya dangerously. How can you see me? Could it be that you have also joined the umbrella? Tsunade's eyes widened instantly. It's true, Tsunade, I didn't expect you to join the umbrella organization. It seems that you have joined umbrella for quite some time. Jiraiya said with emotion when he heard Tsunade's words. He should have thought that Tsunade must have joined umbrella to be able to obtain the method of martial arts training, but people have to hear it with their own ears before they are willing to believe it. Seeing Jiraiya's look, Tsunade knew that this might be the case, but why had she never heard of Jiraiya in umbrella? After Naruto confronted her, he no longer restricted her. Tsunade also knew a lot about umbrella. It stands to reason that she couldn't be unaware of Jiraiya's presence in umbrella. There is only one possibility, that is, Jiraiya has not yet joined the top management. Jiraiya, what is your current position? Tsunade raised her eyebrows and asked. Jiraiya smiled and said confidently, I am the ace pilot of the organization. Ace pilot. This title seems to be. I remember my driver seems to have this title as well. Tsunade thought of the pilot assigned to her by the organization. Holding back the smile in her heart, she praised, great, great. But in her heart, the top leaders of the organization are now using wind control techniques to fly, and only people like Jiraiya who have not yet joined the top leaders do not know that there is such a thing as wind control techniques. Tsunade wanted to defeat Danzo and the second generation who were still in Konoha before, so she did not think of using wind control techniques to fly away from Konoha. If she had known earlier, she would have just run away with her second grandfather. Tsunade had a headache. She strode forward. "Tsunade, where are you going?" Jiraiya asked hurriedly. "Where are you going? Go get some help and kill Danzo." Tsunade bit her lip and said. Jiraiya's eyes lit up. Tsunade's words made sense, and he immediately followed. Ellipsis. After a day of fermentation, the news of what happened in Konoha spread throughout the ninja world, shocking the people in the ninja world. How could Konoha have such a series of accidents? It was really amazing. Ha ha ha. Danzo did a great job. Ha ha ha. The fourth Raikage slammed his hands on the table happily, and a clicking sound was heard, instantly attracting a secretary's resentful gaze. And in the Iwagakure village, Onoki looked at the information and was also extremely excited. Konoha will be handed over to Danzo, ha ha ha. The big ninja villages who knew the news at this moment, especially the older generation of ninjas. Did they know what kind of people the third and Danzo are? Danzo taking the position. Isn't this a win-win situation? Chapter 180. As for Tsunade, when they walked out of the forest and saw the village, they asked around and found out that they had come to a small place in the north. However, knowing the direction, they quickly found the way to the Umbrella organization. When they returned to Umbrella, Naruto also knew what happened in Konoha. He could not imagine that Danzo would be so courageous, but Naruto felt that there seemed to be something fishy about this matter. Naruto looked at Tsunade. At this moment, Tsunade was no longer as embarrassed as she was at the beginning. She was wearing beautiful clothes that showed her true beauty. The beige clothes were slightly loose, but they were particularly suitable for Tsunade. "Tsunade, what are you going to do about this matter?" Naruto looked at Tsunade with a deep and bright gaze. Naruto could see that Tsunade was very unwilling, but it was also true that anyone who had such a thing would have a fire in their heart. "This matter cannot be let go like this. I can't hand over the inheritance left by my great-grandfather with great difficulty to Danzo." Tsunade gritted her teeth and looked at Naruto expectantly. She knew that the development of the organization has always been covert. This time, the organization will definitely be noticed by some people. Basically, it is developing in the open. If Naruto disagrees, she will have to use her own way to take Konoha back. Naruto seemed to see through Tsunade's heart. Naruto breathed a sigh of relief. He understood that this matter must be done beautifully in order to truly gain Tsunade's recognition. Tsunade is not an ordinary talent. Tsunade, who has rich medical knowledge, is undoubtedly a great cow in biology. Putting aside Tsunade's own identity, just say that Tsunade is a member of the Umbrella, then Naruto has to stand out. "I will not ignore this matter. Let's hold a round table meeting," Naruto said seriously. The round table meeting is the most important meeting of Umbrella. Next, it is not only to help Tsunade, but also to decide the future development route of Umbrella. Tsunade looked at Naruto in surprise. Originally, she thought that Naruto would send a group of people and weapons to her, and would not let the organization stand in the open. As a senior staff, she certainly knew what the round table meeting represented. From this point, it can be seen that Naruto attaches great importance to her. For a moment, she couldn't help but feel a little grateful in her heart. As for Jiraiya on the side, he was confused. What is a round table meeting? Ignoring Jiraiya, Naruto issued a secret signal and notified Shisui and others. After a while, Shisui and others came one after another, and their faces looked very serious, because this was the highest meeting. There were only two people who could initiate such a meeting, one was Naruto and the other was Shisui. Shisui took a deep breath and thought about the purpose of Naruto's initiation of the meeting in his mind. The dark brown tabletop was a little reflective. A round table looked expensive. It could accommodate a total of seats. This was left by Naruto for the senior management of the organization. Sasuke also came in. During this period, his strength has been improving, but the Sharingan has not evolved. Neji also came in. Xiao Li was not there. He said that he had no interest in the meeting and could not understand it. The decision should be left to Naruto and others. Uchiha Yu was not there either. He was sent to another large base and could not return for the time being. Zabuza sat next to Shisui, holding a big sword, wearing a water blue tight combat uniform, a standard ninja outfit. Izumi was also in this meeting, and there was also a think tank responsible for the construction and development of the base. Shikamaru got the qualification to listen in. The meeting room was quiet, and everyone knew that this meeting was very important. Click. Everyone looked at the door. Naruto was wearing a black combat uniform with a protective umbrella logo printed on his shoulder. Tsunade followed behind him. The moment they saw Tsunade, almost everyone reacted. It seemed that Naruto's convening of the meeting was related to Tsunade. They also knew what happened in Konoha. After Naruto sat down and glanced at everyone present, he said, "I guess you should know it too, right?" Konoha fell into Danzo's hands. If Tsunade had accepted Konoha, it would have been a great help to us. This meeting is not only about taking back Konoha, but also about changing the development direction of our organization. When Naruto said this, everyone's eyes condensed. They also knew that wanting to take back Konoha was tantamount to a war. However, unlike conventional wars, Danzo would not be able to mobilize too many people. How to kill Danzo at the lowest cost was what they were going to discuss next. After this time, we are likely to become a target of despair and be completely noticed by several other major countries. It is obviously impossible for us to develop as steadily as we do now. But my advice is, hit. Hit hard. What do you think? Naruto glanced at everyone, and everyone showed some surprise. When did the usually steady Naruto say such impulsive words? Sasuke looked excited. If he attacked Konoha this time, he could take revenge on the old thief Danzo. He had learned from Naruto that Danzo was the real culprit who caused the demise of Uchiha. However, he would not forgive Uchiha Itachi, the accomplice. Neji didn't care. He supported whatever Naruto did. It was Naruto who made him experience the feeling of freedom and helped him break free from the cage. Shisui smiled and said, "Naruto, since you said that, you must be prepared." Zabuza smiled and said, "My beheading sword is already very excited." He would not deny any decision of Naruto, not to mention that didn't he know the current strength of the organization. This time, I want the ninja world to know us thoroughly. After developing for so long, it is time to show our fangs to the outside world. Naruto exudes a domineering aura, which makes people believe. If we just keep on developing, I don't know how many years it will take to truly achieve peace in the ninja world. Now we are recruiting members very slowly, and not all of them are forced to have a hard time living. How can there be no bloodshed if you want to change the world? This is destined to be a road full of struggles. Naruto was so impulsive for a reason. The battle in the original plot was almost over, if it was developed step by step, although there would be some results. But it was still a little short of growing to the point where it could influence the outcome of the war. The growth of the organization must be accelerated. Without pressure, there would be no progress. Shisui lowered his head in thought, and said, "Naruto, you are right, we in the ninja world are like two classes. How can the class struggle coexist? One side must bleed. Now, it's time to step up to the plate. This action may expose us, but the weapons we create also need to be tested in actual combat. How can you grow up without fighting in the blood and fire?" Zishui, who grew up in the war, certainly knows that there are two different performances of not having experienced a battle and having experienced a battle. There is a difference between having seen blood and not having seen blood.